Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Neglected Naruto trained killer Konoha. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by EroSlackerMicha and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Target sighted. The whisker-marked blonde made an adjustment to the scope and looked through from his position in a tree. The crosshairs landed on a pudgy midget of a man in a suit wearing shaded glasses. Confirm. Target Gato in my sights. Smoke him. The voice came over his headset. The sniper rifle didn't even twitch due to the runes carved into it, and the nearly silent PFFFT was the only sound. Down in the middle of the village, Gato's head disintegrated, his bodyguards in shock, but they soon joined their boss as headless corpses. The villagers of Wave looked in shock as the tyrant that had ruled their island for nearly 15 years was dead. Inari, the grandson of the bridge builder Tazuna who died 10 years ago for hiring ninja to try and protect him while he tried to finish it, stepped forward. He looked at the body of Gato, there was a gust of wind, and he watched as a card drifted on the wind and landed on Gato's body. Inari picked it up. On one side was a stylish 9 and on the other contract completed. Payment due. Inari smiled as he raised his hand, and the gathered villagers who had thought Gato was going to wring more from them cheered as they were finally free. Well, that was easy. 9 sighed as he walked, the fox on his shoulder balanced perfectly. You know we're going to be late. The fox spoke. 9 grunted as he shouldered his sniper rifle after wrapping it in all-purpose weather tape. Why did you take this contract, kid? The fox asked. To prove that tyrants can be taken out. 9 responded in a flat tone. Or is it to show that you can do something that those fools in Konoha couldn't do? The fox asked. Leave it alone, Caillou. 9 said, his blue eyes focusing on the path ahead. You're still hating. The fox said. And why shouldn't I? 9 asked finally. They locked me up for 10 years, turned their backs on me, on us. Then when they finally let me out, the villagers try and kill me, I defend myself and am threatened with death. The fox sighed and remembered it like it was yesterday. Flashback. Naruto Uzumaki, you are charged with the theft of the Forbidden Scroll, breaking and entering, assault, murder of Chunin instructor Iruka Yamino. Naruto stood there in shock as the charges continued, some were obviously made up and some were from things he'd done and been punished for. He looked up to where the third Hokage sat watching the trial and the old man's face was turned away, Naruto could see tears. Help me, Aji-san. I didn't kill Iruka-sensei. It was Mizuki. Naruto thought. He was unable to speak as some guards had put suppression seals on him before dragging him into the courtroom. Silencing jutsus were used on him as well as the chakra suppressor cuffs on his wrists. I did what I was told. I took the scroll and learned the Kage Bunshin. Why did this happen? Naruto thought. Mizuki-sensei and Iruka-sensei showed up. Mizuki claimed I stole the scroll, but I told Iruka-sensei that Mizuki told me I could make genin if I took the scroll and learned something from it. 3 hours since he stole the scroll he'd sat out near the abandoned shack and learned the Kage Bunshin. He'd just made and dispelled one when Iruka showed up. And then Mizuki showed up and demanded I give him the scroll and Iruka-sensei told me not to. And then Mizuki attacked me. Iruka took the windmill shuriken to the back. Naruto had run then and Iruka and Mizuki fought. Mizuki yelled out to Naruto the secret that the village had kept the past 11 years. The reason why everyone hated him. The reason they abused him. You're the Kyuubi. Mizuki had told him. And then Iruka had said that it was true. But he didn't see Naruto as the 9-tailed demon fox. He saw him as Naruto, a hero. Mizuki then stabbed Iruka with a kunai. It would be revealed to be one of the kunai Naruto had thrown to get away. Naruto in anger summoned 1,000 Kage Bunshins and they pummeled Mizuki into unconsciousness. Mizuki however had a partner and Naruto never saw the person who struck him from behind. Naruto woke up in a cell and was told that he was charged with murder and theft. They'd found him with the scroll in Iruka's body with his kunai in the Chunin's throat. Mizuki was gone and the Anbu figured Naruto was his accomplice. And now I'm on trial, that's funny. No one is defending me and I can't speak for myself. The sentencing was 10 years in prison for the death of Iruka, the scroll which had been found on him was returned to the vault in the Hokage's office. Then flashback. 9's leaps past several trees and he would leap just after touching down. The fox didn't even feel it. As he continued to remember for the blonde whose shoulder he rested on. Flashback. 10 years had passed. Naruto had trained his body while in the cell. During that time he'd sunk into his mind and met with the Kyuubi. The fox had been huge behind the seal and the rage and killer intent flooded out. The two exchanged insults and Naruto woke. The next time Naruto met with the fox, they once again exchanged insults and the Kyuubi forced him out. And so it went for 3 months into his sentence when the fox finally broke and started to talk to Naruto. Not about how he came to be sealed, but about Naruto's life. They talked about everything else over the months, and Naruto was finding the fox had an odd sense of humor. It was nearing his 9th month in prison that the Hokage who visited once a week never showed up. Naruto yelled for the guard and asked where the old man was. He was given a beating for his question. Another week passed and still no Hokage. In his mind he ranted at the fox, who seemed as surprised as Naruto that the old man hadn't come. I might not like many humans, but the old monkey did best by you as he could. A year passed since the Hokage stopped visiting, and it was during his talks with the Kyuubi that the fox started to show him how to train in his mind on chakra control. But it sealed off. The bracers. Stupid kid. In your mind you can still learn. When those things come off, we'll surprise them all. Kyuubi not only taught him chakra control and manipulation, but he taught him about the ages past. I heard a village to the far north rediscovered gunpowder and is making firearms. Kyuubi said. How about when we get out of here I show you how to really make them? What? Why? Naruto asked as he worked out. You're my container. The longer you live and the more power you have the more prestige I get. Kyuubi admitted. You'll never be allowed to be a ninja of this village, that's for sure. During their mental training, Naruto learned what the teachers had sabotaged in his training. The Kyuubi was mad. And they call themselves teachers. He was heard muttering. So he had Naruto create a shadow clone and used a tail to control it. Naruto learned a whole new style of taijutsu, as well as how to use foxfire, the chameleon ability to blend in and kitsune illusion magic. I am a creature of the elements kid. And what I have you shall have. And that added another lesson in his mind space as Kyuubi showed him how to mold the elements. Fire, water, earth, wind, metal, lightning, ice, life and shadow. One element per tail. In the real world Naruto worked out, his body lean, a dancer's build, but ripped. The new taijutsu was fluid and graceful. Time passed and the only human contact was guards bringing food. Naruto had no visitors after he told AM and old man Ichiraku not to come back when they told him about the death of the third Hokage. I'm sorry we couldn't visit before but the lower levels of the prison you need permission and it took the old man said. The new Hokage is making things. Leave. Don't come back. Naruto said coldly. It had hurt, but he knew it would hurt more when they stopped visiting later on. Like when Aji-san. Kyuubi comforted the boy with a tail hug when he sobbed in the mental space after hearing about the death of the Hokage. Hi. Naruto said. What kid? The fox asked from its side of the bars. When we get out of here show me how to become better. Naruto said. As you wish. The fox said. Then flashback. Why aren't we using the contraption the gorilla made? Caillou asked from his seat on Nine's shoulder. Because you hate teleporting and Sei's device makes you antsy. Fa. It's unnatural scattering one's chakra and atoms and rearranging them at a different location. Nine chuckled. I like it. You would. You're an adrenaline junkie and think skydiving is fun. It is. If we were meant to be in the air like that, Kami would have given us wings. The fox argued back. Nine smirked. Wait till I tell Yugi-chan and Nai-chan the great and all-power Kyuubi no Kitsune is afraid of heights. Do that and I'll rip off your ear. The fox growled. Nine chuckled a bit as he continued to speed along. I remembered for him the day he was released. Flashback. The cell door opened with a loud creaking groan. Lantern light flooded the room and Naruto winced as he turned his head away. Come on demon, your sentence is up. The guard said. Really? Naruto's voice was whispery and rough. And here I thought I was to remain forever. Naruto stretched like a fox and his spine cracked as he worked the kinks out. He shuffled along, his blue eyes avoiding the lantern as he allowed the pale light to lead the way. They reached the foyer where the desk and doors were. Naruto wasn't surprised there was no one waiting for him. The guards removed the leg shackles. Naruto Uzumaki, you have served your full sentence of 10 years, it is time for your release. The warden said. Naruto said nothing. He held out his arms to get the suppressors removed. You'll need to see the Hokage about those. The warden said. Naruto grunted and waited. Wolf, ox, boar, take the prisoner to see the Hokage so he can be given his final release papers and housing assignment. The warden said. No words of luck or anything else, the Anbu led Naruto to the tower. Once his eyes adjusted to the bright light of the sun, he noticed Konoha had changed greatly in 10 years. Buildings were changed. Naruto didn't look at the faces, he didn't see the questioning looks as he man with blonde hair to his ankles and whisker-marked cheeks and a beard passed them all. The Anbu kept anyone curious or meaning harm away as they reached the Hokage tower. Naruto looked at the monument. The 4 faces were there and a 5th one was added. It was the new Hokage who took control after the death of the Sandaime. Let a move on demon. Ox said shoving him. Naruto growled and the man backed off. Don't you think Naruto began, his harsh voice carrying. That if I was a demon, I would have killed you all for the treatment you've all given me since I was a baby. Naruto entered the tower and walked the path he hadn't taken in over a decade. They soon reached the secretary's desk. Uzumaki to see the Hokage. Wolf said to the woman that Naruto did recognize. The pink hair and green eyes. "Hello, Sakura," he said. She looked at him coldly but didn't respond to him. "Take a seat, the Hokage will be with you gentlemen shortly," she told the Anbu. They shoved Naruto into a chair and took up positions. Sakura at the desk went back to work, ignoring Naruto. "You're looking good, Sakura," he said after several minutes of quiet. "Don't speak to me, murderer," she said. "I was framed," Naruto said. Sakura said nothing when there was a buzz from the intercom on her desk. "You can take it in now," she said. The three Anbu ushered Naruto into the Hokage's office, a room that used to warm and welcoming, now felt cold and alien. Uzumaki. Danzo. Finally made it to the big chair. Naruto greeted the man who was the goddamn Hokage. "And all it took was for the old man to be murdered while you hid in your home during the invasion, I bet." Danzo smirked and looked at the Anbu. "Leave us." They looked ready to protest, but he waved them out. Once the doors were closed he smirked. "Truthfully, Orochimaru did me a favor in more ways than one. Sit." He gestured to the chair. Naruto shrugged and did so. "You see, my root discovered that you were framed, we knew that before you went to trial, but we knew that if you were free, you would have been a wild card." Naruto remained silent. "So you had to go to jail. I never thought Orochimaru would kill the old fool. But in the end it turned out well. You were out of the way, Sarutobi dead, and I could mold Konoha into the greatest empire ever." Naruto still said nothing, but held up the suppressor cuffs. "Ah, yes. Those. I think we can remove them now." He slid the key over, and Naruto removed one then the other. The resulting explosion of chakra had Anbu rushing the office. Sakura could be heard screaming that the demon had killed the Hokage. Danzo had been thrown back against the wall, his eyes wide. Such power. "Sarutobi, we were all fools." Naruto sat motionless through it all. His head was tilted back, his eyes closed as his merged chakra rolled through him, around him, embraced him. "I am whole. We are whole," he thought. The 21-year-old felt complete. Anbu stood in shock. "Stay back," Danzo ordered. "It's alright." Uzumaki's chakra was surging after being sealed away for so long. What power. If we could harness it. He thought. When it settled, Naruto opened his eyes. "What?" "Leave us," Danzo ordered. "And someone calm down Haruno," he said about his secretary that could still be heard screaming about the demon killing the Hokage. Once the office was emptied again, Danzo retook his seat, his hands shaking. "Now then, we can get you assigned to a team so that you can take up your duties as a ninja of Konohagakure and..." Naruto's laughter filled the office. "You need to remember, Lord Hokage, I was never a ninja. I failed the academy 3 times and then was thrown in jail for the murder of Iruka-sensei, and Mizuki vanished right after I kicked his ass for killing my mentor." Danzo was speechless. Naruto stood. "Now, we're done. I'm out of here. Your apartment was destroyed." "No. I am out of Konoha. There's nothing here for me. You and the rest of the villagers made that obvious over the years." "What about?" "Old man Ichiraku and his daughter left. I got a letter a year after they left. Civilians burned down their raiment stand after they visited me one time. They told me the old man died. Something no one else cared to tell me about. They told me of the invasion by Odo and Suna." Naruto said. He looked over his shoulder. "I'm done with this village. Do what you want, I no longer care. I'll mark you as a missing nin," Danzo threatened. "Again, I was never a ninja, but of course, I was never the Kyuubi either, and you fuckers treated me like shit because you couldn't tell the difference between a boy and a being of chakra sealed away." Naruto walked away. Danzo knew he'd made a mistake leaving the boy in jail the whole time, but they needed his power now. "Stop." An Anbu, eager to please the boss, reached out to grab Naruto. But the blonde sidestepped and grabbed the man's wrist and with a simple flick sent him to the ground hard, cracking the floor with the impact. "Never touch me again, bastard," Naruto said as he continued to walk, his gaze passing over Sakura and the guard still there. He reached the stairs and looked back to see Danzo in the doorway of his office. "Anyone you send at me will be killed. I am not a ninja and I've never been treated as a civilian, so I am solving all the problems and leaving Konoha. I hope the village burns around you, Hokage-sama." He was on the streets when the first tomato flew at him. His chakra swirled around him and obliterated the flying object, shocking the people around him. "Do that again and I will kill the person who threw it." Naruto walked to his gates in silence, civilians watching, too scared to attack. Ninja watched from the roofs. And Danzo watched from the balcony of the Hokage's office, realizing that his plans had backfired. Then flashback. "Okay, Kit. Call her. We'll be days running before we get there otherwise." the fox said. Are you sure? I don't want to. Do it. We have no reason to dally around here anymore, the fox said. Nine smirked as he tapped a button on his watch. 12 tails, operator. A female's voice came from the small speaker. Hey Shizune. Naruto. Where are you? Lady Tsunade is not happy that you vanished, came the scolding voice. Ha. Tell Bachan that the issue in Wave is settled and they'll be sending the payment in. You were supposed to take back up. Ha. 1 and 2 are dealing with that mess in. Don't give me that Naruto. Shizune's voice cut him off. It's 9 now. Naruto died in a Konoha prison, the blonde said. Get off it. You're Naruto. Lady Tsunade will beat it into your head if you don't stop thinking of yourself as that number you and the other two gave yourselves. We are sacrifices, Shizune. Our villages stopped seeing us as people the day the Biju were sealed in us. None of us got warm affection. I can't talk to you like this, Shizune said. Where are you? On my way from Wave, I took the long way around to avoid Fire Country. Stand still. I'll have Sei transport you. Naruto stopped and smirked at the fox. Body slide, he said. Naruto was surrounded by twinkling lights and soon enveloped by blue-white light and then was gone. Chapter 2. The brick building was 4 stories. The neon sign above the main doors showed a 3-headed monster sporting the head of a raccoon, a fox and a cat. Fanned out behind the creature was 12 tails. 2 cat, 1 raccoon and 9 fox. Inside was a combination office, bar and game room. At the desk sat Shizune, the apprentice to Tsunade Senju, former Sannin of Konoha and the woman who ran the agency's day-to-day operations. There was a battered but comfortable sofa off to the side with a television and coffee table. A woman with a large bust and blonde hair and pigtails was asleep while snuggling up to a pig called Tuntun. This was Tsunade, the famed slug Sannin and the legendary sucker and owner of 12 Tails Agency. On the other side of the room playing pool was a young woman wearing skin-tight purple and black bodysuit, a gold belt where a handle for a chakra whip hung, and had a pair of cat ears. Her gloves sported sharp nails, which currently held a pool stick. Her opponent was dressed in dark red pants, a deep brown vest over a tan shirt. He had a necklace of fangs, and his raccoon-marked eyes were lined up along the pool stick in his hand. Across his back was a huge gourd, and on his forehead was a sigil for love. Where the hell is he? Shizune was heard muttering. Sei said she brought him back before the two of you, yet you're here and he's not. Vegito Nai sighed. You know how he is Ni-chan, she said. The 3 Biju had adopted Shizune as a sister figure, along with Gaara's surviving sibling Tamari. Tsunade was the boss, 9 called her Bachan, and was the only one to do it. He will be here, Gaara said tonelessly as he smacked the cubic ball and sent the striped ball it hit into the middle pocket. Knowing him, he stopped for Raymond. Vegito made a growling sound. Not fair. He knows we'd have joined him. Shizune shook her head. I swear that the Raymond addiction comes from them being Jinchuriki. All 3 of them inhaled the stuff like air. Her gaze paused as she watched a small raccoon and the black cat creeping towards the couch. Who knew Lady Tsunade's necklace could separate the demon from the Jinchuriki? The human containers keep the chakra, but the demon gets some freedom. I wouldn't do that if I were you. She warned the 2 animals that looked ready to pounce on the sleeping Tuntun. Lady Tsunade will send you both to the vet to be neutered if you attack Tuntun again. The pair of Biju sauntered away to find mischief elsewhere. Shizune shook her head and knew that once the fox joined them they would be even worse. The groan from the couch told her Tsunade was waking up. Is the brat here yet? Not yet, Lady Tsunade, Shizune said as she worked on the papers on her desk. She remembered when they met the blonde. Flashback. They were passing through a small gambling town when they ran into Jiraiya. You old pervert, what brings you this far north? Tsunade asked. Heading away from Konoha. Sensei is dead. Nothing left there for me, he informed her. She nodded in understanding. They sent a messenger for me, demanding I return, she said. Jiraiya held up a deck of cards and started dealing. He snorted. They didn't waste time putting Danzo in charge. He's the goddamn Hokage and he runs the village like he's a Yakuza boss. He looked at his cards while Tsunade made adjustments to the cards in her hand. Orochimaru was quite pleased with his killing of Sarutobi-sensei, she said. Of course, he didn't find it funny when I snapped his spine and killed his little medic nin, she said. That was you? Jiraiya asked. He tried to make me believe he could bring Dan and Noaki back to me. He said he'd bring them back to life with a jutsu he discovered if I would fix his arms, Tsunade said. I told him I would do it but would need a few days to get supplies. He showed up 3 days later all smug and when he was relaxed, I struck. Shizune delayed his mediquat was his name. She asked Shizune. Kabuto, I think, Shizune said holding Tuntun. Well anyway, I severed his spine and tossed him in the gutter near the Leaper district. Jiraiya laughed. I'd kiss you if I didn't think you'd kill me. Buy me a round and we'll call it even. Tsunade said. They talked and played several more hands before a disturbance drew their attention to the street. No way. Jiraiya muttered. What? It's Jiraiya paused. Naruto Uzumaki. He finally said. Uzumaki? You mean? Yes. Jiraiya said. They let him out of prison shy of a year ago. He up and vanished. Danzo issued a capture on-site order and a small reward. They both shook their head. He's not a ninja, is he? No. Jiraiya said and pulled a file out of pouch. He failed the academy 3 times. Couldn't make a regular bushin. Tsunade studied the file. This is sensei's handwriting. She said. Yeah. I removed that and the things the Gaki was supposed to get but the council wouldn't allow. He put a scroll on the table. Wouldn't allow. They're his family's things. He has every right to them. Hey, don't get mad at me. I've been looking for him to pass them along. I sealed it all in here for transport. Jiraiya said holding up his hands to ward off a beating, revealing the cards he held. Fold. Tsunade said. Her eyes turned towards the street where the bounty hunter was trying to fight the whisker-marked blonde. Bang. What the? They saw the hunter drop to the ground dead, the blonde slid something back into his duster before heading into the bar. The crowd parted like a sea before him and he made it to the bar. Sake. The bartender complied quickly and the two Sannin watched as he flipped a coin at him before turning and heading for a booth in the corner, well away from the door and where he could watch the room. He looks. 10 years in prison changes a person, especially when that person is innocent. What? Tsunade asked, then opened the file and read what her former sensei had written. Why did he let this happen? He wrote in there why, but I'll say it. Sensei was backed into a corner. The council were calling for the brat's execution on a daily basis before the incident. Despite now forensic evidence, they blamed the kid for the murder of the Chunin. Add in the fact that the kid admitted to steal the forbidden scroll, despite swearing that his Chunin teacher told him to, and that if he did he'd make genin. What idiot would believe that? Tsunade asked. He was desperate to be a ninja. Jiraiya said. And Tsunade looked at her old teammate. Reminds me of someone. She said. Stop, I'll blush. Jiraiya said. From their position they both could see the blonde as he drank. I suppose I should go and talk to him now that I know where he is. Jiraiya said. I'll do it. Tsunade said. What? Why? The Toad Sannin said perplexed. This takes a woman's touch and you would just say the wrong thing. Before Jiraiya could say anything in protest, Tsunade grabbed the scroll he'd indicated before in the file and stood. She was almost to the table before he realized she'd left him sitting with her apprentice and her pet pig. Hey. Naruto looked up to see a blonde with a large chest and a diamond mark on her forehead. Hey back. He said sipping his sake. What can I do for you? Naruto asked. I'd like to talk with you. Talk? Is that all? He asked. Tsunade laughed. I'm a bit old for you. She said. Ah. You don't look older than 30. Naruto said. Why thank you. Tsunade said. Pull up a bench. He grabbed a clean cup and poured her some sake. Thank you again. She said with a grin, putting a file folder and a scroll on the table. So, you have a name? He asked. Tsunade. And I already know your name, Naruto. She watched as he tensed, his hand flashed quicker than she thought possible and pulled something from his duster. She felt cold metal pressing to her forehead and the bar went dead quiet. You are the prettiest hunter that asshole Danzo sent after me. But I guess where brutes fail, he hopes that beauty will win. Tsunade saw he was gripping some sort of firearm. She'd seen the rifle and pistol up in the far north, but nothing like what the whisker-marked blonde held to her head now. I'll tell you what I told your partner. Go back to Danzo and remind him I am not a ninja, never have been, never will be, and if he continues to hire hunters, I'll keep filling the Undertaker's coffers. Tsunade laughed. Then flashback. Boy that was tense. Shizune thought for sure at the time the blonde would have shot her master. And Lady Tsunade just kept taunting him. She saw Tsunade was on her feet and rummaging behind the bar in the small cooler. What do we have to eat? Nothing. You haven't gone shopping, it's your turn. Shizune reminded her. Why do I have to shop, I'm the boss. Tsunade whined. The name only Bachan. They turned to the door where Nine was standing with a fox near his feet. And no more alcohol. You'll kill your liver one of these days. From the bar Tsunade grabbed an empty bottle and tossed it at the blonde in the doorway. He reacted by drawing his pistol and firing, the bottle shattering before it even got halfway. No guns in here. Shizune snapped. Sorry, Ni-chan. Nine said. He sauntered in and they realized he had several boxes of pizza. Their other weakness besides ramen. Shizune thought, but her mouth watered as she smelled the hot dish. Whatever brat. Tsunade said and took 2 slices and dropped back onto the couch, waking Tuntun who disgruntled hopped off and went upstairs. What kept you? Well, besides getting food, I took that job back in Wave. After that. Sei called that she teleported you back here before those two. She said, pointing to Gaara and Yujito who were digging into their own pizzas. Oh. Nine said with a shrug. Stopped for pizza and before that I just sat at the park. Tsunade sighed. We've got a job back in the elemental countries. She said, getting all of their attention. It's in Konoha. Nine's slice of pizza dropped back to its plate untouched. Chapter 3. Tell me, you did not just say the job's in Konoha. Nine said, his blue eyes staring into Tsunade's own. I did. Tsunade said before taking a large bite from her slice. Gaara and Yujito sat nibbling on their own slices, watching and waiting for the verbal explosion. Shizune had taken her slices back to her desk to continue working, letting the two blondes talk it out. Nine looked at the others. How much did she drink? Not too much. Yujito said. She was sober when the messenger came. Nine sighed. Bachan, you know that I refuse to work for around Konoha. He said. No choice. Tsunade said. We're all going for this one. We are? Shizune asked from the desk. We are. Tsunade said with a nod. Nine stood up. Have fun. Send me a postcard. He made his way towards the stairs, but Tsunade's voice stopped him. I'm calling in your marker. Nine stopped and looked over his shoulder. You're wasting that on Konoha? He asked. She gave him a brief but firm nod. I knew that called you the legendary sucker Bachan, but this is even a bad call for you. He sighed. I hope whatever the job is, it's worth it. He said, going to get ready while Gaara and Yujito inhaled their pizza. So do I, brat. So do I, Tsunade muttered. 12 Tails Lab. Say the team's tech person was moving around the lab. Tables loaded down with weapons and half-started projects. The center of the room was a large platform that the three Jinchuriki swore she stole from a Star Trek convention. Sei herself was a small woman, standing 5'2", she had ankle-length light brown hair that was in a braid and tied with a yellow ribbon. She was wearing a pair of pajama pants, fluffy bunny slippers, a white baby crop tee and her lab coat. A pair of round wire-frame glasses perched before her soft chocolate brown eyes and a smile as she moved about the room. Light glinting off the studded dog collar she wore. Hey Sei. Nine said as the group entered. Nine. She said. Your gear prepped, make final checks. She said as she moved back to a computer. The three Jinchuriki looked at the bags with their respective numbers. Yujito pulled out several blades and a whip and claws with forearm guards, she was the team's up-close fighter. I put the new gear you requested in there as well. Sei said. Yujito pulled out several burglary tools and after checking them nodded. Cat burglar. Funny. Nine teased and the girl stuck her tongue out. Gaara's bag held explosives as he was the team's demolition expert. He also picked up some scrolls and raised an eyebrow. Sei from her spot at the computer noticed. It's a summon scroll. I had Tamari take and bury the other one in the desert so you can have access to an unlimited amount of sand. She explained. Just add a drop of blood and some chakra to activate it, then again to shut it off. Gaara nodded as his gourd melted into a long coat. He slid the scroll into the pocket on his thigh and went back to checking his explosives. Nine picked up his bag and pulled the zipper open and peeked in. Sei waited until he pulled out a pair of 1911 Colt .45 seconds. I bored the chambers and customized the triggers, added some compensators. She said and Naruto looked up. They used to be pretty good, but now they're nail drivers. Naruto smiled as he removed his old .45 and put it on the table. He slid out of his old holster rig and into the new one. The guns were well hidden by his duster. You've got the standard rounds, armor-piercing, tracking rounds, tranquilizer rounds, rubber bullets and paint rounds. He saw his sniper rifle. You finish. Yes. Stop using it for bashing idiots over their heads. Sei said as Naruto picked that up. And please leave me a couple of those elemental caster shells to study this time. However you and the fox made them. Stays with us, sorry Sei. Nine said. That is a secret I can't share. The team's gadget person sighed. I just want to help you. I know and appreciate all you do. Nine said. But caster shells are ancient tech and Caillou feels it's best that no one knows how to make them except me. I don't use them except for he shrugs. Okay. I also got you guys the military grade armor, your headsets have been isolated to a special frequency. Sei says moving about her lab. She looks at Shizune who is checking her needle guns over and a scroll. I added several new shells to your baby. Shizune smiles as she pats the scroll and next to her Tsunade shudders. I blame Yugaki for her liking that thing. Nine shrugs. Nichan knows what she likes. So, where's mine? Tsunade asked and everyone freezes. The three Biju who are creeping around the edge of the lab freeze, their eyes go wide in fright. Bachan, you don't get a gun. Nine says. The other two Jinchuriki went back to checking their gear, letting the whisker-marked blonde deal with their boss. Why? Tsunade demanded. Because you're a menace. Stick with what you know. Tsunade pouts. Nearly shoot a Biju while picking up a gun and they hold it against you for life. She mutters. Sei smiles. I did get you new armor and some gadgets I am borrowed from London's Q branch. She held up a watch. It's got a built-in tracking device, a dart shooter with tranquilizer rounds. 2 shots. She said. She then held up a hand fan. Dual purpose. It can keep you cool. She flutters it. Or attack. She whips around and throwing daggers launch out and impale the target. I also got you a new communicator and mix set. She held up a pair of earrings and a choker with a gem in it. You've been busy. Shizune said while her blonde mentor and friend looked at her new toys. I don't sleep much. Head back on the calf pows. 9 interjected. Sei growled at the whiskered blonde. I'll stop with my addiction when you 3 leave yours. Point. 9 said as he made adjustments to his scope and slipped the sniper rifle over his shoulder. The 3 Jinchuriki were dressed in long coats. 9 had a face mask which he pulled up covering his lower face. Gaara had a hood and a pair of sunglasses. Yujito wore a mask and cowl that looked like a cat's head. It connected to her outfit under the black long coat. Tsunade wore her usual jacket and Shizune was in her travel clothes. She looked at Sei. You don't mind watching Tuntun, do you? The team's inventor and tech smiled warmly. Not at all. He's a good pig. Thanks. It's just he's getting old and I don't think the excitement of a mission would be good for him. No worse than that job in Ontario. 9 muttered. Shizune rounded and pointed at Gaara and 9. You two nearly blew him up. Bacon. Gaara intoned. Tuntun made a squeal in remembrance of that day and hid under Sei's computer desk. The 3 Biju made snickering sounds. You 3 get up here. Sei ordered patting a lab table. I have your new collars. Caillou jumped up. Collars. Bah. Stow it fuzz butt. 9 said. The tracking devices and communicators are standard equipment. Unless you want Sei-chan to surgically insert them. Bro, collars are fine. Nibi said sitting next to the fox. Bitch. Shukaku whined as Sei lifted him up next to the other 2. Stop whining. Gaara intoned. I made them of new material. Sei said removing the old collars and putting on the new ones. Tags. Caillou roared hearing the light jingle. You're making us wear tags. Licenses. Sei countered. This is so humiliating. The fox whined. You could always go back to your seal. 9 said. Fine. But this is under protest. Caillou said as he scratched, the light jingle sound irritating the fox more. Where's Tamari? Gaara asked. Here. They all turned to see the blonde with her fans across her back and a pump shotgun in her arms. What kept you? Gaara asked of his sister. Making sure my garden would be fine until we got back and before that I was working on the car. 9 smiled. Who knew a girl who'd never driven before would be the best wheelman ever? Wheelgirl. She corrected and pinched his ear. At least I have my license. 9 shrugged. The Biju could do much but driving seemed out of their skill range. Tamari had taught her brother and Naruto ninja skills, Yujito helped, but the 2 boys seemed to prefer modern weaponry or their elements over ninjutsus. 9 for transport. Tsunade said. Sei walked to a control panel. Step into my parlor. She said gesturing to the transporter pad. They took their spots, the Biju at their partner's feet. Body slide. Tsunade said closing her eyes. Damn thing makes me nauseous. She thought as Sei's hands worked the control. Energizing. She said. Safe journey, see you all later. They were soon enveloped in light and gone. Sei looked at the map and watched as it left the modern world and passed the veil. She saw that her targeting was 2 miles away from Konoha. Looking at Tuntun she sighed. Just you and me then. Know any good movies? Higher country. Ah. I hate that thing. Tsunade said as she shivered after they reappeared. Want to a pyramid formation. 9 said. Wait. Tsunade said. Keep casual. She said. We're expected. 9 looked at her before pushing his shades up. Casual formation Alpha 5. He intoned. Shizune watched as the blonde turned and began walking. I think you should tell them the job. She said. No. I want more information before we take it. If Konoha lies we're out of here. The blonde said as she walked. It's a mistake. Shizune said shouldering her pack. Around them the 3 animals roamed. It looked innocent but they were looking out for trouble. I'm not counting on my luck. Tsunade said, her eyes on 9's back. I'm counting on his. Silence followed the group until the gates of Konoha came into view. From where they were they could see the tension in 9's whole body skyrocket. Yujito leaned over to Gaara and whispered. Think Tsunade will keep the peace. Sic vis pacem, parabellum. Gaara intoned. At his friend's look he translated. It's Latin. If you want peace, prepare for war. His shade-covered eyes landed on his friend and his brother Jinchuriki. Naruto Uzumaki is dead. He died here 15 years ago in prison. Konoha is going to be seeing 9, a contract killer and the world's best shooter. He looked back at Yujito. He won't do anything for revenge. It's not a valid motive, it's an emotional response. And we both know that Nai-san on jobs is like ice. His gaze went back to 9. Yujito added her own thought. Alright, if not vengeance, you can bet there will be a lot of punishment handed out. Ara nodded. It would be like you or I returning to our villages. Gumo wouldn't be standing and Suna would be swallowed by the desert, she said. And here, the leaf will burn. What I did during the invasion will be nothing compared to what our brother will do if pushed and are annoyed. Gaara said in his usual monotone voice. Behind them Shizune thought one thing. Konoha's fucked. The pay better be worth this. She said to Tsunade. They paid 500,000 just to meet. Tsunade said. The job is promising a lot more. I've got a bad feeling about this. Shizune muttered as they caught up to 9 who stopped to wait before they reached the gates. His jacket was thrown back and they all knew it was so he could grab his Colts should trouble arise. Really bad feeling. She thought, knowing that no matter how much Konoha paid, the money would be worthless if 9 got pissed. Stained in blood. She thought. Chapter 4. Halt. The 6 stopped as the gate guards appeared from the hiding spots. Identification and reason for visiting Konoha. Tsunade held up the papers that had been left with her, as well as her Konoha ID. Lady Tsunade. The guard said in surprise. Yes. She said blandly. The guard looked at the papers with the Hokage's seal and then at her companions. Their identification. He asked gesturing to the 3 Jinchuriki. You don't need to see their identification. She said coldly. Milady, you don't understand the rules. They are my guards and they don't have names that you need to know. She said. Shizune showed her own ID. I'm her apprentice. She said with a grin. The guards looked at the 3. You will wait here then and remove your weapons. 9 snorted. Don't think so asshole. We're her guards, you think we'd let a chicken shit village dictate what we do? Tsunade held up a hand. Very well. She said and the 3 Jinchuriki and their animals that were hidden looked at her in shock and betrayal. Tell the Hokage then that he can meet us here. She said and 9 and the others relaxed. Milady, that is the guard began, but she cut him off. I could care less about what he thinks and wants. He asked to see us about a job. My employees don't go anywhere without their weapons. Even the fire daimyo understands this. Now either let us pass or toddle off and tell Danzo he can meet us here. If he decides not to, then we'll leave within half an hour. Tsunade walked away from the gate and sat down on a small boulder. Shizune looked at the guards and shrugged before being followed by 9 and the others. Lady Tsunade. She hissed once she was next to her mentor. I am not here to play Danzo's games. Tsunade said as she watched one of the guards rush off. We'll see in half an hour if it really is important or some more of their bullshit. 9 leaned against a tree, his eyes on the gates. Tamari took up a spot near him. This is a mistake. We should walk away now. Easy brat. Tsunade said. Kyuubi leapt to her lap and she began to pet the fox. The cat and raccoon both glared, jealous that the fox got there first. The group didn't even wait 10 minutes before a squad of Anbu came towards them. Oh, playtime. 9 said as he eased his stance and his hand slid to the shoulder harness and his Colts. Yujito and Gaara put themselves to the side and in front of Tsunade and Shizune and the 3 animals. Stand where you are. 9 said. You're to come with us. The lead Anbu said. Nice diplomacy you have there. Yujito purred, her hand at her sides holding the thin throwing blades. Hand over your weapons and come with us now. The dog mask Anbu said. Kiss my ass. 9 said with a grin behind his scarf. The Anbu tensed. I take it Danzo's not coming down then. Tsunade said. We are to escort you to him. Nico Anbu said. Let's go children. Tsunade said and turned walking away from Konoha. Where are you going? Inu demanded. I came to speak with a client, not be ordered around and my employees and guards stripped down to make us easy targets. Tsunade said. This is Konoha, that would never happen. Inu said. Really? Like Konoha wouldn't throw an innocent boy into prison. Like Konoha wouldn't put a bounty on the same boy when he left after being released. Tsunade asked raising an eyebrow. Or how about the hunter nin that came for me when I refused to return to Konoha? Tsunade tried again. She took several steps before there was a loud bang and 2 bodies hit the ground. She turned to see Inu laying on the ground holding his wrist, his hand destroyed. Another one wearing the boar mask was dead, a slender throwing blade buried in the man's neck. Her gaze rested on 9 who stood with his Colts drawn, one aimed at Inu, the other pressed to the mask of Tora Anbu. Thou shalt not touch Lady Tsunade without permission. 9 intoned. Amen. Gaara muttered. Tsunade saw a pair of explosive patches and knew that he was ready to cover their escape. "Stand down," Tsunade said, and the three assassins stepped back, Yujito pulling her blade from the Anbu's corpse. Nine stepped back and lowered his guns, that was his concession, while Gaara kept his explosive patches out and ready. "You bastard," Inu moaned. "You live," Nine said. "Should have killed him, you're getting soft," Yujito teased. "Stow it one," Nine said with a growl. "Lady Tsunade, please come with us. Your guards may keep their weapons." Nine snorted, "Like any of you ninja can take them." Damari, who had been waiting, took her hand off her shotgun and saw Shizune slip the needle gun out of sight. "Let's go then," Tsunade said with a fake grin. The Anbu formed up around them, one of them staying with the injured Inu and dead boar. They walked the main street, Nine's eyes scanning for danger. Not a damn thing's changed. "New face on the monument," Shizune said. Nine looked and saw Danzo's face. "That shouldn't be there," he hissed. Gaara agreed. The village seemed to have recovered from the invasion all those years ago. "It has been a decade and a half," he reasoned. Nine saw the palace where Ichiraku's raiment stand used to be, it was an empty lot, grown over. "We're being followed," Yujito said low into the communicator they all carried. "Rooftop," Nine agreed. He saw the shadows from the sun and shook his head. "And they are professional shinobi." The group reached the tower, ignoring the looks from many villagers who seemed curious about the strange group. Their eyes noticing the fox got hard looks. Entering the tower, they went to top floor and stopped in the waiting room. Nine saw a pink-haired woman at the desk going over papers and making notes. "Haruno, inform the Hokage that his guests have arrived," Tora intoned. The pink-haired Sakura Haruno looked up. "Have a seat," she said. The girl entered the office and came out a moment later. "He will see you now," she said, then her eyes landed on the fox. "Your animals will wait here." She was ignored as Yujito entered the room first with Nibi. Tamari and Shizune were next, followed by Gaara and Shukaku, the raccoon sitting on his owner's shoulder. Nine paused at the desk, looked at the girl he once had a crush on, and snorted before entering the office with Kyuubi on his shoulder. "Ah, Tsunade, the years have been kind to you," Danzo said. On either side of him were his advisors, Kaharu and Hamura. "Funny. You look like crap," she said, ignoring the scoff from the two old farts that used to be her sensei's teammates. "The role of Hokage is difficult and very consuming. I used to envy Sarutobi," now he shrugged. "You paid for this meeting, Danzo, speak," Tsunade said, taking the chair while the others spread out. Tamari and Shizune stood in mirror positions on either side of her, while Nine leaned against a windowsill. Gaara was by the main door and Yujito leaned against a bookcase. "You will address him with the proper respect," Kaharu said. "I'll address him any damn way I want to," Tsunade said to the advisor. "I am no longer part of this village. My travel rights can only be revoked by the Council of Daimyos, and you aren't them." Danzo held up a hand to stop Kaharu's rant. "Tsunade, I didn't bring you here to fight. I have heard of your employee skills and I would like to hire them to do several jobs that seem beyond the skills of our Anbu." "I'm listening," she said. "The first job is we need you to hunt down and kill Orochimaru." Tsunade laughed. "I broke his back and left him for dead in a gutter." "He's back," Danzo said. "He had help acquiring a body and transferred his soul to it." He looked at his advisors and sighed. "There is a second part of this job. One of our jonin has been compromised." Tsunade's eyes narrowed at hearing her former teammate was back and had used that jutsu to get a new body. "Compromised?" she asked. Amura spoke next. "Sasuke Uchiha was infected with the curse sealed by Orochimaru while on a mission with his genin team. The genin died and Sasuke was brought back to Konoha. We thought it was sealed by his former teacher Kakashi Haddock, but the seal used required. It required the Uchiha's will to fight it. He didn't and has gone to Orochimaru for power to kill Itachi Uchiha." Nine snorted. "So, you want us to kill your runaways?" "They are nuke nin, each with substantial bounties." Nine stepped away from the window. "No." Tsunade looked at the one person she thought of as her son. "You sure?" she asked him. "I won't hunt for them," he said. "There's more," Danzo said. "There always is," Nine said from behind his scarf. "Sasuke Uchiha when he left kidnapped Hinata Hyuga. Her clan wants her back." "We need a moment to confer," Tsunade said, and they huddled near the corner. "Naruto," she said in a harsh whisper. "No Bachan. There is more that they aren't telling us," Nine said. "I agree," Gaara said. "Get the rest of the details. Also we collect the bounties, but we also get paid for the job." Yujito voiced her agreement. "We're not a charity. It sounds like they want us to take the risks and are hoping to pay us with the bounty only." Damari snorted. "Bet they'd welsh on that." "Shizune?" Tsunade asked her apprentice and friend. "I agree with all they say." Hamura is nervous and keeps looking at Danzo. Tsunade agreed. Back to the table. She retook her seat. That's all good, but what aren't you telling us? We've told you everything. Kaharu said. Lie, strike one. Nine intoned. We also need to negotiate on the fee. Tsunade said in a bored tone. Fee? Homura said. You'd get the bounties. This is non-negotiable. You want us to perform rescue, extraction and assassination, it will cost you more than a few bounties. Orochimaru is worth. I don't care how much the bounties are. There is more going on than a simple hit. Tsunade said annoyed. Now, you will tell us what else you've left out or we walk away. Tsunade counted to 20 and stood. Wait. Danzo said ignoring his advisors. There is a couple of complications. Orochimaru is the leader of the Hidden Sound Village, filled with Nukenin and there is also the Akatsukiya group of S-rank Nukenin. Nine growled. He had heard of the Akatsuki while he was traveling. He knew what they wanted. All your information on them and the targets and the rest of the mission. He said. And I mean everything. Including everything on sound. He then looked at Tsunade. Negotiate the price. He told her. Tsunade smiled as she pulled a flask out of a pocket of her jacket. Taking a swig she smirked at Danzo. Rescue fee is 1 million, oh, and my prices are non-negotiable. She said before continuing with her prices. Danzo's eyes widened at each. You'll break us. He said. Tsunade shrugged. You want the job done and done right you pay. Half up front the rest when the job is done. Danzo looked nervous. Why are you like this Tsunade? Konoha is your home. My home died the day you locked up an innocent boy for murder. You know where Uzumaki is? He asked, his eyes widened in hope. No. I get a letter from him sometimes. I think he's in America or Canada. Homura snorted. Foreign lands. My home. Tsunade said. It's where these four are from. She gestured at the others. So be damn careful who you insult you old fart. They killed one Anbu and crippled another. She took another drink from her flask. Now, the files concerning the Uchiha, the Hyuga princess, the Sound Village and Orochimaru along with everything you have on Akatsuki. Tick-tock, the clock is running. The three Jinchuriki smiled as Tsunade annoyed the elders and the fifth Hokage. Danzo was regretting bringing in professionals, but he'd heard about their feats around the elemental nations. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. He thought as he planned on having the Hyugas pay for the rescue mission. The Uchiha's retrieval would come out of the Uchiha clan funds. Now we just need to come up with the money for Orochimaru's bounty. He thought wondering where he could cut corners and leave his own private funds untouched. Chapter 5. I hate this village. Nine mumbled as he and Gaara walked the streets towards their meeting with the Hyuga family. I nearly destroyed this village. Gaara muttered. Should have, then we wouldn't be here now. Nine said. The animals were with Shizune and Tsunade. Tamari and Yujito were exploring the Uchiha's house to look for any relevant information. They were stopped at the gates by members of the branch family acting as guards. Inform Hiashi Hyuga that we are sent by the Hokage to discuss the rescue of his daughter. Nine said in a bored tone. One guard sent a runner while they waited. Gaara was leaning against the wall, his hands in his pockets where Naruto knew there were enough explosives to level the Hu clan complex without trying. 9. Naruto turned to see a group of Hyuga approach. Come with us, don't attempt to deviate from the path or you shall be killed. A branch member said. Nine and Gaara both snorted but followed the man. They realized that they were being followed by 6 guards, both Jinchuriki felt offended that there were so few. They were escorted to the chamber where a dozen men sat. Clan elders. Nine muttered. Correct. You seem familiar with our ways foreigner. Nine's eyes focused on the face of Hiashi Hyuga. How is it we can't see through your mask and hood? We enjoy our privacy. Nine said. The material had cost a small fortune, but the Guild of Assassins in France had shared the secret with them after they had rescued their head assassin several years back. Remove them. An elder demanded. No. Nine said. We are here to discuss the payment you will give once we return the Lady Hinata Hyuga. Nothing. Another elder spoke. She is worthless and weak. You would let the clan heir be used for experimentation by Orochimaru? Nine asked. Hinata has had the cage bird seal on her since she was 11. Hiashi spoke coldly. And she is not the heir. Her sister Hanabi is my chosen heir. Nine cocked his head to the side. So you shall not want her returned. Kill her, we'll give you 1,000 ryo to put that embarrassment out of her misery. Another elder said. Nine and Gaara exchanged looks. Very well. They turned. Payment is expected upon completion. We want her eyes returned as proof. An elder said. As you wish. Nine said and with Gaara at his back left. 12 Tails group left Konoha in the morning. They were met at the gate by Danzo. This is Kakashi Hadouken Sai. They will be going with you too. Negative. Nine said before Tsunade or Shizune could speak. We work alone. They are to observe and contact me once Sasuke is removed, Danzo again said. Tsunade shook her head. No. Unacceptable. Her and her group walked away. Kakashi and Sai followed. Tsunade sighed. Want to incapacitate them. Gar and Yujito turned and Sai was hit with a dart from Yujito, he dropped before he could register. Kakashi leapt in the air, avoiding the explosive from Gaara that would have left him unconscious. Unfortunately Kakashi wasn't aware and a loud bang and a stab of pain brought him down holding his leg. Nine holstered his gun and turned away. I didn't want them hurt. We should recover Bachan. Nine said. They continued on their way. Each Jinchuriki's animal balanced on their respective partner's shoulder, well below Temari and Shizune walked with Tsunade. Tsunade spoke into her mic. What did the Hyuga say? They want the girl killed and her eyes returned. Nine said. 1,000 Ryo is their price. Gaara intoned. Like hell. Tsunade said as she stopped in the middle of the road. Huddle. The three Jinchuriki landed around her and Temari and Shizune moved in. The Uchiha left Konoha, kidnapped the girl and went to Orochimaru of his own choice. What do you suggest? Temari asked. She had not been impressed seeing Konoha again after so long. We kill him and return his body. We take the girl, we tell them that her body had been destroyed. I can always use another apprentice. Nine snorted. And Orochimaru? Kill him and his ninja. She pointed a finger at Nine and gave him his orders. Leave none alive. I made the mistake last time thinking with a broken back he was finished. Nine nodded. Gaara, I leave the leveling of Odo to you. The Jinchuriki of the One Tail actually smiled. I live to serve. Vegito, you scout and gather what you can, money, intel. The two-tailed Jinchuriki purred at the thought of slinking around. What shall you three be doing? Nine asked. Knocking on the front door. Tsunade said. Shizune smiled as she patted the duffel bag that held her baby. Be careful all of you. We do this like we have and we'll all go home with a lot more money. Nine snorted and looked at Yujito. Just find me a nest. You'll get your spot Nai-chan. She said with a feral grin. And we'll have snakeskin boots in no time. They moved feeling enough time had been spent talking. Odo was in for a shock. The Togakur. Yujito slunk along the shadows. She had no problem slipping into the village late at night, the guards were lax, and the underground village did have far too many places for a good assassin to hide in. Tapping her mic, she spoke low. I'm in. What's the word? Shizune's voice came back over the earpiece. A lot of straight tunnels, very little cover for the first 100 feet. Then there are pillars. Yujito's low voice sounded loud even as a whisper. Nibi's tracker should be giving you the map as she prowls. Yujito checked her wrist PDA and saw that the two-tailed cat had gotten a lot further than she thought. Don't take chances too. If it looks compromised, get out and we'll make a new plan. Shizune said. Not responding, she slipped further along and found the room that looked like a mad scientist's lab. Operator, found lab, mark it. She said low and used the claws in her suit to climb up and plant another camera like she'd been doing. She saw several corpses floating in tubes. Are you getting this? She asked into the mic. Yes. He's experimenting on his own ninja. The girl there was one of his personal guard. Shizune said. 2, 9 is on his way in. Wait to rendezvous with him and continue on. 1 is planting explosives in the village above. Copy that. Yujito putted and found a spot to wait out of sight, but where she could wait for 9. Her wait wasn't long as 9 slipped into the room, his hand holding a pair of curved knives. That was quick. Yujito hissed from above him. She sniffed and realized he killed a guard. He came upon me from out of nowhere. 9 said. I stuffed his body in a closet. The pair slipped further along planting cameras and sticking to the shadows. They came upon another large room. Looks like an arena. 9 spoke low as he planted a camera. Look. Yujito hissed as they watched a dark-haired young man wearing a blue shirt and dark pants. The Uchiha. 9 said as they watched him step into the middle of the arena. The gate under the throne opened and 3 prisoners were shoved out. Orochimaru. Yujito hissed as the Sannin walked from where Sasuke had and sat on the throne. He's altered the body to look like his old one. Hold your position. Lady T wants to see what's going on. Shizune's voice came over their earpieces. 9 growled as he slipped the sniper rifle from his back and adjusted the sight. When the order came to fire he wasn't going to waste it. Yujito was tense next to him as 9 stretched out and lined up his shot. He had Orochimaru's head in the crosshairs of his scope while below, the Uchiha was fighting the prisoners, his Sharingan copying their jutsus and taijutsu skills. He's letting the Uchiha get stronger. Hold your fire. 9's finger hovered over the trigger. I have a clear shot on the target. 9 breathed into his mic. Negative. Lady T wants to know more. Pull out. Nibi has found the Hyuga, plans being altered. Shizune ordered. Yujito slipped back into the shadows. 9 glared through the scope once more before slipping out behind her, his rifle in his hands. They hurried back the way they came, 9 cursing about not taking the shot when he had it. Bachan better have a good excuse. 9 hissed. They reached a cross corridor and the cat leapt to Yujito's shoulder and they hurried out of the underground lair and into the village, and once there, they entered the blind that they set up outside the village as their hideout. What the hell is going on, Bachan? I had the shot. 9 said. Tsunade held up the file she had gotten from Konoha. There's more going on here than you were aware. She said and handed him the folder. Read. 9 did as he was told, his eyes scanning the file, and when he was done, he looked at her. I should have shot them both. You should have. She agreed. It seems Danzo wants the Uchiha to get stronger before we bring him back. She looked at her team. Your thoughts? Phil the little prick now. Tamari said. I remember him during the invasion. His fellow Leaf Ninja died by the score, he sat it out and didn't lift a hand. I fought him in the finals. He is weak. Gaara said. His sensei, the one 9 shot before we left, saved his life. You know my thoughts. 9 said. Vegito? Tsunade asked. I agree with my brothers. The Uchiha from what I saw was not mentally stable. Capturing him as he is would result in at least one fatality. Best shoot him now. What about tranquilizers? Shizune offered. They would have to administered constantly. 9 said. He was enjoying torturing those prisoners he was copying from. We go with the plan of eliminating the Uchiha and take his body back. You did negotiate half fee if he's dead, didn't you, Bachan? Chapter 6. Now about the Hyuga girl. 9 shook his head. I can't wait, it's Konoha. I can believe they would throw her aside like that. I think we should get her out and wipe out the whole village. Gaara said. I agree with Nai-san. Yujito said while petting Nibi. Tsunade sighed. From what we've seen with the hidden cameras you've installed, the Uchiha is getting stronger every day. 9 snorted. A bullet through the brain pan will solve that problem. He said, patting his sniper rifle. So basically the client lied to us and things went out of their control and they want us to fix it. 9 summed up with a look at Shizune. Correct. I don't see why we don't walk away. Tamari said. We've done it before when a client has lied. True, but I don't like the Uchiha. Bachan hates the Hibi team and the Hyuga girl is an innocent. 9 said. Literally. I remember her from my time at the academy. She was so shy and timid, I'm amazed she made ninja. Aw, little brother had a crush. Yujito said with a grin. But not. 9 said, crossing his arms. She's just. We can talk about 9's love life or lack thereof later. Tsunade said, filing away the teasing for later. Nibi managed to skulk around without detection and mapped out the whole underground lair. 9 and 2 both managed to place cameras in several locations. She pointed out the map. Nibi found the Hyuga girl here. We need to get her out before there is any mass destruction. And what then? Kill her? Hand her over to Konoha? 9 asked. No. Trust me, Naruto. Tsunade said, and the whisker-marked blonde nodded. I trust you, Bachan. And stop calling me Naruto. It's 9. The older blonde snorted. I'll call you what I want, brat. Now as I was saying. Yujito, you slip in and extract the girl. Gaara has his charges planted and will set them off once you slip her out. At the same time Shizune, Tamari and I will knock loudly. Shizune smiled and pulled out her modified rocket launcher. It had a clip that held 4 shots plus the one in the tube. You scare me, Ni-chan. 9 said as the girl that was considered an older sister patted the weapon as if it was Tuntun. 9. Tsunade said, getting his attention. You'll be positioned here. She pointed at the map. You should be able to pick off anyone that comes out. I should go in and deal with the team twins. He said. He's right. Yujito said. Once things go to pot, they might bolt and we'll have to spend time digging out their new hole. Tsunade growled. I don't like it. You don't have to. 9 said. I can promise that I'll put a bullet in Orochimaru's brain first before hunting the Uchiha. Tsunade sighed. Fine, but you wear a mic and camera. If you get in trouble, pull out. 9 nodded, but they all knew he wouldn't. He hated leaving jobs unfinished. Okay. Here's the rest. Gaara, you will be here. Use your sand here, here and here. Tsunade said, and the Jinchuriki of the One-Tail nodded. This will keep any from getting away from the explosives. He said with a nod. 9 shared a look with Yujito. They'd slipped back into the underground base and were appalled at the lack of security that had such gaping holes. They made it to the arena where they had last seen Orochimaru and Sasuke. 9. You know, the body I dumped earlier is gone. It's like they don't care. 9 said lowly. I've seen them knife one another in the back while I was sneaking around before. Yujito said. 9 shook his head. And people ask why we left. He muttered at the sheer stupidity that ran rampant around the elemental ninja nations. Yujito checked the wrist PTA and tapped it. Around the corner. Lickety-split. Nine said and had drawn one of his Colts. They slipped into the room marked on the digital map and stopped. Yugi-chan. Nine said in a cold voice. Yes. Remind me to shoot Orochimaru several times. Nine said. In the middle of the lab was a tank filled with fluids and suspended in the fluids, wearing a breathing mask with various tubes attached to her body and a simple wraps for modest was Hinata Hyuga. Naruto growled seeing her eyes were wrapped as well and her body was covered with surgical scars. Her long blue hair hung suspended around her head. Tapping his throat Mick, Nine spoke. Bachan, you seeing this? There was a pause. Nine. Came the response. Yeah? New orders. Tsunade's voice came back as cold as his. Search and destroy. Nine nodded and turned drawing his second Colt. Do. Tsunade's voice came over the earwig. Yes boss. The cat-like girl hissed. Put a locator on the hull tank and contact Sei. Get her back home. Shizune will meet you there. Vegito said nothing pulling out the transponder patch. She grabbed whatever discs that were laying about. Her anger make a deep rumble in her chest. Kill them all brother. She hissed knowing Nine heard her, the sounds of his Colts ringing down the corridor as he came across his first victims. Vegito tapped the communicator. Say. Vegito. Came the tech's voice. Emergency transport. Body slide on my location and the transponder to medbay. Vegito said. She wanted to stay and get a pound of flesh for what they did to the young woman in the tube, but she had her orders and she knew that Nine would get her pound for her. Set. Came Sei's voice. Body slide. Vegito intoned and she was gone along with Hinata Hyuga. Shizune snarled and fired the last of her rockets into the village. The explosions were spectacular and she knew that these people deserved what they were getting. Shizune. Tsunade said getting her attention. Go prepare the medlab. See what we can do for the girl. I'll be along in a bit. Shizune wanted to argue but the look in her mentor's eyes stopped her. She nodded, shouldered a rocket launcher and tapped into the comlink. Damari was further along, her shotgun rang out and a sound Nin's chest was vaporized. She combined her ninja skills and took out another one after a brief scuffle of taijutsu, bringing the shotgun up and pressed it to the ninja's jaw, pulled the trigger, the head vanishing in a blood mist. Damari. Tsunade said as she kicked a nin aside, sending him flying several yards away, his ribs powdered and soon death claimed him. We're going to meet up with Nine. The bodyguard/driver nodded and reloaded her shotgun. Her battle fan still across her back. They get the girl. Vegito took her, emergency teleport. Tsunade said. She saw the camera shot and cursed her former teammate again. We're making sure that snake doesn't get away again. Damari nodded and without looking, one-handed aimed and pulled the trigger, a sound Nin died. Nine stalked the underground corridors like an angel of death. The modified Colts killing quickly, the bodies hitting the floor as if nailed there. Cold blue eyes scanned the area for more targets. He saw several ninja ahead and knew that's where the targets had to be. Bolstering the guns, Nine took his sniper rifle from his back and took aim. Yukin wondered what was keeping the strange ninja that was cutting through their forces with ease. Reports were coming in from all sectors that their village was being destroyed. He never got to ponder anymore as his brains exploded out the back of his head, his lifeless eyes looking on as he noticed the blonde at the end of the corridor. His brother and the remaining members of the Odo 5 were shocked. Seiken joined him soon after as well as Jirobo. Each sporting a centimeter hole in their foreheads, the back of their heads leaving gaping hole as big as a fist. Ai and Kitamaru pressed against the walls, but Nine with his scope smirked, made an adjustment, and muttered the incantation activating the runes, and he slipped a caster shell in. Fire in the hole. He muttered and squeezed the trigger. Kitamaru never realized that his world ended in fire as the bullet slammed into him and made him go up like a Roman candle. Ai looked at him. Fuck me. Her head exploded as the bullet took her in the ear and she like Kitamaru burned, both bodies turning to ash from the heat of the caster shell. The only indication that they'd been there was the burn marks on the walls. Nine stood and ejected the caster shells, pocketing them, and he muttered the phrase and returned the rifle to normal. He slipped in several rounds and walked down the corridor, stepping over the bodies of the Odo 5 without looking nor caring about them. He slipped the rifle over his shoulder when he got to the door they were guarding and pulled a Colt. He opened it slowly and peered in. Orochimaru was sealing things into scrolls at a rapid pace. Off to the side Sasuke was with a young man wearing glasses and had silver hair. Kabuto, forget the heavy equipment. Orochimaru said. Get the files from the medlab and destroy the Hyuga. We can't take her with us. The snake Sanin said sealing several scrolls into another one. Sasuke-kun, gather the rest of your things and seal them in this. The Sanin said tossing his apprentice a scroll. We need to hurry. Reports are that we're under attack and they've leveled the upper village without resistance. Kabuto was heading to do what his master ordered but stopped seeing a pair of cold blue eyes over a scarf. Low was as far as he got before the shot rang out, his head turned to mush as 9 shot him. Another shot rang out and Sasuke went down screaming, his knee gone. "Who are you?" Orochimaru demanded, looking for a way out, his eyes wildly searching for a chance to survive. "I am your end," 9 said. "Seems your friend Danzo didn't like you going back on your word." "Danzo's a fool. He told you about our deal," Orochimaru said. "No. But we stole his files after he gave us a job." "Us?" Orochimaru said. 12 tails. Orochimaru had heard of the hitmen for hire from beyond the mists. "I'll double whatever he's paying you." 9 shook his head. Why do they always try and negotiate? He pulled the trigger as Orochimaru's hands moved to do a jutsu, the bullet tore the Sannin's right hand off at the wrist. "Aig. Their village is destroyed, your ninja dead." 9 continued as he reloaded. "Take the Uchiha, let me live." 9 shook his head. "Can't do that. You're too dangerous to let live. Bachan made that mistake." The bullet slammed into Orochimaru's head. Sasuke off to the side was nursing his destroyed knee. "You asshole, you were to take me back unharmed." "Deal was altered. Pray I don't alter it further," 9 said as he put several more rounds into Orochimaru's corpse. He pulled out a machete from a back sheath and lopped off the Sannin's head. "Why the hell did you shoot me?" Sasuke demanded. "Because I altered the deal," 9 said as he bagged the head and pulled out lighter fluid and used a low-level Kaiten jutsu that Temari had taught him, set the body on fire. He bagged up the scrolls the Sannin had packed and then looked at the Uchiha. "What are you waiting for?" Sasuke demanded. "Help me up, you idiot." 9 cocked his head to the side. "I didn't mention what the deal had been altered to, did I?" Sasuke didn't get a chance to ask anything as 9's hand blurred and the Colt appeared. Bang. Tsunade and Temari stopped in the doorway and the older woman's eyes met 9's. "Bag the body," she said. Her eyes went to the burning corpse. "Orochi?" she asked. 9 nodded as Temari helped him prepare the Uchiha's body for transport. "You shot him in cold blood," the fan user said. "So? He had to die. I just carried the bullet till it was time," 9 said. "Konoha won't like it." "Konoha can kiss my ass," 9 said. "We'll tell them he had no intention of coming back and we had to defend ourselves," Tsunade said. She spat on the burning body of her former teammate. "Rot in hell, Orochi," she muttered. "Let's get this back to Konoha and then home," 9 said. Tsunade nodded and tapped the comlink. "1, we're coming out, meet us at the entrance." She looked at 9. "You want to collect the other heads?" she asked. Shaking his head no, he held up the one of Orochimaru. "I got my target, the rest are gravy." Tsunade nodded, her mind coming up with a lie about the Hyuga girl and about the death of the Uchiha. She'd been thinking about it since they saw him killing and when they learned of Danzo's real intentions. She led them out, Temari carrying the head while 9 slung the body bag over his shoulder. There was none left to stop them, Odo was now a mass grave. Chapter 7. Konoha main gates. Was it wise sending 1 and 2 back? Temari asked standing next to Tsunade while 9 stood behind them, the wrapped body of the Uchiha slung over his shoulder. "I want them there in case the shit hits the fan and we have to bug out," Tsunade muttered. "Keep your beacon active, we might need to use an emergency teleport." 9 snorted. His free hand was near one of his Colts. "You should go back and check on the girl Bachan. Temari and I can get the payday." Tsunade shook her head. "You aren't diplomatic enough and would shoot them and Temari would go along with whatever you wanted to do." Both shrugged. 9 has his hood and mask in place. "I can't argue that. I'd shoot Danzo instead of getting the paycheck. But then, to me that's worth more than any bounty." Tsunade sighed. They were getting the smaller amount as the Uchiha was dead. She was glad she had it inserted in the contract, otherwise if she knew the old farts here, and she did, they would try and wiggle out of paying them anything. "Just get us out of here quickly, Bachan," Naruto said, adjusting the dead weight of the Uchiha corpse. Temari had her shotgun cradled and looked at the other blonde. "If you're good, you can take me for a strawberry sundae when we get back," she said, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Generous of you," 9 said flatly. "I know. But it's either I go out with you or some of the trolls that think they're men. I know you at least will act somewhat of a gentleman." Tsunade snorted. "I thought you said he was your brother," the older blonde muttered as they passed the gate guards. Temari smirked. "I know, but I heard incest was the next big thing." Tsunade gave her a look while the blonde bodyguard smirked and 9 actually chuckled. "Let's get this over with," Tsunade said, cursing the day she agreed to be surrounded by so many young adults with warped senses of humor. "Have a seat," Sakura said from her desk. "Lord Danzo will be with you in a bit, he's in a meeting with several of his advisors." 9 sat, dropping the tarp-wrapped body to the floor with a thud. "So, Tem-chan," he began next to the other blonde. "You still make those cute sounds while eating those sundaes?" The girl blushed and looked away. behave. I am. Nine said, but Tamari and Tsunade could hear the laughter in his voice as he decided to annoy the woman next to him. Now truthfully. Nine said. Is it that I take you to the best places for those ice cream delights, or is it you have a thing for slightly younger men? Tamari huffed and crossed her arms. 9, behave or I'll have you pulling kitchen and laundry duty for a month. Tsunade said. Fine. The masked hitman muttered. Wish Caillou was here. He muttered, missing his fox who had gone back with the others after the destruction of Itagakure. Quit whining. Tamari said, leaning against him. Tamari might have called him and Yujito siblings, but there were times she needed a date and more and would take one or the other. Tsunade finding her bodyguard in a compromising position with the Jinchuriki of the two-tail had been an interesting morning. Same could be said the time she caught Tamari with Naruto in the back of the car that she was going to use for a meeting. The yelling had shown everyone that lived under the roof of 12 Tails that Tsunade could literally raise the roof with just her yelling. The door to the Hokage's office opened. The Hokage will see you now. Sakura said. Nine snorted. No one had come out, meaning they had something set up in the office. He shouldered the body of the Uchiha, ignoring the pink-haired girl's look. He drew one of his Colts while Tamari went in first with her shotgun in her arms, Tsunade last. Danzo was behind the desk and her sensei's former teammates were on either side of him like matching bookends. That was rather quick. Danzo said as Tsunade took her seat. You have news. Mission complete. Tsunade said and mentally smirked at the looks on all three faces. She pretended to study her fingernails. I regretfully report that Sasuke Uchiha was compromised and had to be eliminated. We've brought his body, along with the head of Orochimaru. 9 dropped the sack with the head on the desk and then dropped the body to the side at advisor's feet and smirked behind his mask as they all jumped. Bukaharu said looking at the body while Danzo's eyes were on the head in the middle of his desk. I must also report that Hinata Hyuga was dead and her eyes had been removed by Orochimaru long before we arrived. As we couldn't retrieve the eyes as they'd been destroyed by Orochimaru during an experiment, we waived the fee for that part of the mission. Tsunade said in a bored tone. You killed the Uchiha. Koharu said finally. Yes. He fought alongside Orochimaru and had no intention of returning to Konoha. Tsunade said. What were his final words? She asked looking at 9. He would only return to Konoha as its conqueror. 9 said the lie rolling off his tongue. Danzo looked displeased with the news. Now, about the balance due. Tsunade said. Not quite yet. We need to discuss the injury of our ninja at your employee's hands. Tsunade sighed. You mean that one-eyed person who 9 shot? Kakashi Haddock is a respected jonin of Konoha and his knee was destroyed beyond repair. Hamaru snarled. 9 shrugged. Not my fault your medical staff is incompetent. Behave. Tsunade said to him. Elders, we told you at the start we work alone and you ignored us. We took steps to keep them out of the way. You had agreed on our terms and tried to alter them. I really hope you don't try to alter them further. The three jumped as the click sound came from Naruto who chambered around in his gun and waited. We did the job, you pay for the job. He said when it looked like they were going to argue further. Danzo pushed the button on his desk. Sakura, have a pair of Chunin retrieve a voucher from. No Hokage. Tsunade said. Cash. Danzo hesitated. Sakura, send 4 Chunin to the bank and have them withdraw the amount we talked about. Right away Lord Hokage. The girl's voice came over the speaker. He clicked it off. We can't pay them. Koharu said. They killed the Uchiha. Danzo watched as the hitman's hand came out from the depths of his long coat, gun in hand. We are paying them. They did the job they were hired for. If we don't honor the contract, it will spread around and we will lose our own clients. Tsunade made a hand motion and 9 holstered his gun. I'm glad you chose to honor our deal Lord Hokage. I'd hate to see Konoha share Itagakure's fate. Danzo knew he was going to be sending his Anbu out to investigate, but he needed to get these people out of his office. They were too dangerous. Yes, yes. Now, I have another. Sorry, but no. Tsunade said standing. We're finished here. She said as the Chunin carried in 2 metal cases. Tamari took them and opened them. She checked a couple stacks and nodded. Pleasure doing business with you, but don't call us again. Tsunade, that is no way. I have no ties to this village that keeps taking and taking. My family must be rolling in their graves at how corrupt this village has become. They looked at her. Tamari, Naruto let's go. She turned and heard the gasp. Naruto. Tsunade cursed her temper and saw the masked blonde's shoulders sag. Naruto Uzumaki. Danzo said getting to his feet. Thanks a bunch Bachan. Naruto said. Detain him. Danzo ordered the Chunin. Naruto however was faster and his Colts came up, the shots catching each man in the chest dropping him where he stood. Get the hell out of here. Naruto yelled to Tamari who handed the cases to Tsunade and pushed the older woman out the door. Stand where you are, Uzumaki. Danzo ordered. Fuck you, crowbait. Naruto said and fired a shot, catching the Hokage in the shoulder, and Naruto leapt out the window. I hate this fucking town. He thought, landing on the ground, leaving a crater. He turned to see Temari and Tsunade exiting the tower. Tapping his communicator. Sei-chan, emergency extraction, body slide by 3. Copy that 9. Sei's voice came over his earpiece. Naruto followed the two women, and as the alarm went off with cries of "Stop them!" coming from the tower, Naruto didn't hesitate and shot anyone that stepped their way. I need you in a less populated area, there are too many signatures to lock onto to get Tsunade-senpai and Temari-chan. Sei's voice came over the communicator. Copy. 9 said and cursed as ninja were running along the rooftops. Ba-chan, Tem-chan, break left. He ordered, and as they went left, he went right and side as the ninja followed him. Sei, Ba-chan and Temari are in the clear, get them out. He said. What about you? I'll call when I need a lift. 9 said, turning off his communicator. He dove through window, shattering the area with glass. He rolled to his feet and shot the first ninja that came in after him. Realizing he was in a clothing store, he rushed through it, ignoring the screams of civilians as he burst through the dressing rooms, ignoring the shriek from a blonde in her underwear, and then into a hall he shot at the wall, pulverizing it with a dozen shots. He slammed his shoulder into it and found himself in an alley. He coughed as plaster rained around him. He kicked up to his feet and kept running. The commotion behind him told him the ninja hadn't given up their chase, and he turned, seeing more ninja dropping into the alley. Idiots. 9 muttered, shooting them as he approached and leapt over their bodies before they hit the ground. I knew coming back to Konoha would be a mistake. He muttered as he turned several more times and leapt over a fence without effort. The ninja were still giving pursuit, and 9 saw the massive gates shutting. So much for leaving via the door. Knew I should have shot Danzo in the head. He muttered as he spun and rushed over the river and by where Ichiraku's used to be. 9 raced up the stairs and took the left, past the Hokage's tower. He could see the red building of the academy inside. No. Won't put children in danger. He thought as he ran along the wall, making a hard left and into the alley of fences. He could hear the ninja behind him. Leaping a fence, he holstered a Colt and tapped the communicator. Say, get me the fuck out of here. Copy. Body slide by 1. Naruto smirked at the ninja as they cleared the fence. He mocked them by giving them the finger. Damn. 1 said. Another grinned. You know, I miss these chases. Shut up, Izumo. A rat mask, Anbu said. Not even a ninja and 30 ninja can't catch him. Kitetsu said, sharing a grin with his friend. Danzo's rants about Uzumaki had allowed the ninja to know who they were chasing, and most of them were very glad that they failed to catch him. Reminds me of the days when he was a short little shit. Izumo said. Now he's big, bad and has a serious hate for our Hokage. Kitetsu said as they started to disperse. Yugao sighed and flipped her purple hair aside. Bets. Kitetsu smirked. How long before Naruto returns and kills Danzo and the Council of Fools? Put me down for 9 months. The purple-haired Jonin said. She'd quit Anbu after her lover Hei died before the invasion and the council railroaded Naruto into prison. Only recently been forced back to active duty by same council. Other dates and amounts were tossed out. It seemed that the ninja of Konoha hated their current Hokage in the council. Chapter 8. 12 Tales. 9 stepped off the teleport pad and sighed. That was too damn close. He muttered, pulling his hood down and mask off. He was staggered by a missile that hugged him and realized it was Sei. Don't you ever cut it that close again. The tech said in a scolding, worried manner, even as she hugged 9 as tight as she could. I'm fine. He said. Looking around, he realized they were alone. Where is everyone? But the girl you guys sent back. Sei said. Shizune says she's messed up big time. They not only took her eyes. What? 9 asked. It seems like her DNA had been messed with. Naruto looked at her. It looks like they coated parts of her skeleton as well. 9 swore and headed for the lift. I'll be in medlab. He said before the doors closed. Medlab. 9 found Gaara and Yujito standing outside the operating room, looking down as Temari, Tsunade and Shizune worked one the Hyuga girl they rescued. Status. He said. Yujito sighed and leaned against Gaara. The snake man really fucked her up big time, brother. She said, her eyes were slits as she looked into the operating theater below. I think I killed him far too quickly. 9 said as he saw the 3 women moving around. Tsunade, the master, she was in the field of medicine, was doing all she could. She bears scars years old. Gaara said. I might be going back to Konoha after all. 9 said. How'd that go? Gaara asked. 9 explained it all, even Tsunade's slip. Yujito. You know they will be dumb enough to come after us here. The holder of the Two Tails power said. It will take them time. After Bachan is done down there, we'll figure things out. But I can bet we'll be going back, enough dead bodies will convince them to leave us alone. Yujiro looked at Nine's whisker-marked cheeks. You let the Hokage live. She accused. I did. Nine agreed. Foolish. You should have killed him and it would have ended with him. Yujiro said, a rumble in her throat told the other two she wasn't pleased. Or it could escalate. Some of our jobs come from the elemental nations. We ruin that and we'll lose a field of revenue. Nine said. A living enemy causes more trouble than a dead one. Gaara said. Nine sighed. We'll talk about it later. He turned his eyes on the room below. Sei said they did more on her than remove her eyes. They bonded vibranium to the bones in her arms, legs and hands. Where the hell did they get that from? Nine pondered aloud. I thought it was restricted material. It is. Gaara said. I tried to get some for that job in Germany. Nine sighed as he sank into his seat, his view of the room below letting him know what was happening. Bachan trying to remove it? He asked. No. She's forced to stimulate healing as well as she had to inject those nanobots that say replicated that copies our healing abilities. Gaara said. Without it, she'd die a couple hours after being removed from the stasis tube. Yujiro said. Yujiro-chan, why don't you go order dinner? Nine said. He looked at Gaara and motioned him to stay. What do you wish to do? Sleep. Nine said with a sigh. I want to forget Konoha. Do so. I'll wake you for dinner or if anything happens below. Gaara said to the blonde. Nine stretched out and used his jacket as a pillow, the Colts he hung off the arm of a nearby chair. Gaara watched his brother sleep and he knew that Nine was already plotting how to deal with Konoha. Yujiro sat at the desk while she waited for the pizza delivery boy. She looked at the cases that had been left and knew the job had been paid for, but she didn't like how the Konoha client seemed to try and capture Nine after the mission was done and they learned his real name. Ryo. Nibi landed on the desk. Do you think it's a mistake to leave them after our brother as well? Yujiro asked. Yes. Came the telepathic link she had with Nibi. Unlike Shukaku and Kyuubi, Nibi couldn't talk but could communicate with telepathy. Nine will handle it. He always does. Yujiro said. The cat gave her a look but she didn't send any thoughts. The door opened and a woman walked in. Not the pizza boy. Yujiro thought. Shaking her head she looked at the woman. Welcome to 12 Tails Agency. She said remembering the greeting that Shizune would use. How may I help you? The woman looked nervous. 2. Yujiro mentally groaned. Take your time. She said. I need to hire a bodyguard. The woman said removing her glasses. Her left eye was swollen shut and her right one was black and blue and turning more shades. Why don't you tell me who did this and what exactly you are looking for? Yujiro said, wishing Shizune was here as she never really understood this part of the job. Medlab. Tsunade came out. Naruto, thank the gods you're alright. She said seeing the blonde sitting up wiping the sleep from his eyes. How's the girl? He asked. Tsunade sighed. Not good. If she looked at Nine. What? The blonde asked. If she had a Bijuu, she might make it, but. Nine looked down and felt something. Caillou. He called out. The fox had been sleeping under the seat. What? The two held a silent conversation and Tsunade looked on as Shukaku and Nibi came in as well. Very well. It's time anyway. The fox said and the other two creatures nodded. What? Tsunade asked. Gaara came in and looked at Shukaku. Are you certain? The raccoon nodded. Nibi padded from the room, she had to talk to her container. Someone explain it to me. Use small words if you have to. Tsunade said as Tamari and Shizune joined her. Nine sighed. The Bijuu have agreed to merge the last of the power they contain into the girl. It will make her like us. The downside is that they will vanish. Tsunade looked at the fox. Why? We're tired. We care for our containers and the time we've had is more than we thought possible. Caillou hopped onto Nine's shoulder. You'll need your crystal. I'll have Nine perform the transfer. Nibi came back. Gaara looked at her and nodded. Ni-chan, you might want to get to the office. Yujiro has a client there and she's stalling. Shizune looked at Tsunade. Oh? Shizune removed her scrubs and hurried to the office. Are you all certain? Tsunade asked. She wasn't 100% certain what would happen, but she knew that if they did nothing, the girl in the operating room wouldn't see the end of the week. The three Bijuu nodded. Tsunade sighed. Konoha. Hire whomever you have to, but I want them back here. Danzo said as the medic wrapped his shoulder after extracting the bullet. That's the thing Lord Danzo, they did the job none of our ninja could. Now you want us to send a team after them, Kaharu said. Hire bounty hunters. Danzo said. I want that demon back here. He can be our weapon and we will rule the elemental countries. This is a mistake. We should forget the demon container. Hamura said. We need to prepare. Reports say that Hanzo was disposed and his successor has turned his eyes towards Konoha. That is why we need the demon, more than ever. Danzo said, wincing as the medic tied the sling tight. Hire bounty hunters. Chapter 9. 12 Tales. Medlab. 9 stood by Hinata's head wearing a pair of pants and a tank top. He looked at the shod eyes necklace resting on the side on a small pillow. The 3 Bijuu stood around Hinata on the bed. Tsunade was there watching, afraid she was going to lose another person she cared about. How does this work again? Tsunade asked, looking at the fox. The 3 of us will sacrifice our remaining energy, it will make her a Hanyu like the others. What about her eyes? Tsunade asked. Kyuubi sighed. Talk to say, I'm sure she's got ideas. Her and her machines. Machinus, you mean cybernetics? Tsunade asked. We can heal her body, but the eyes the girl had are gone. Ocular implants are possible, you know this as well, but we can't regenerate what isn't there. Tsunade made a note to talk with Sei later, but she wasn't leaving now, even if the building exploded. Gaara was standing off to the side, he too had refused to leave. He was losing a part of himself and he wanted to see what happened. We'll have a new sibling. He said to 9. The blonde had said nothing as he prepared himself. He had to be the focus, and Tsunade's necklace was another. The power of that stone carries the power your uncle had to control Bijuu. It is responsible for removing us from them, and it will help give our power to the girl. Tsunade was surprised that the 3 were willing to give their lives for a girl they just rescued. It was bothering her greatly. Before you start, you need to speak with the Kyuubi, just once more in private. Tsunade said. Naruto sighed. You have 10 minutes. I'm still meditating and preparing. The fox hopped off the table, and Tsunade caught him, carrying him out of the room and putting him down on the table. She locked the door. Give me the truth. She said. The Kyuubi looked at her and sighed. The time of the great beasts is passing. We can either end it as plushies or leave our mark on the world. He paced back and forth on the desk for a bit. Despite what the kid says, he needs a mate. Yujito isn't in the running, and Temari might be hot sex, but it isn't the love of a mate. Tsunade blinked. You're doing this to get him laid? Kyuubi actually laughed. More than that. More than that. He repeated. Yujito will find a mate soon if Nibi is right. Gaara's will be seen as well. Temari, who because of the transfusion she got is actually a Hanyu as well, and while she doesn't have any abilities, she will have the longevity. The fox looked at Tsunade. And the only reason that worked was her DNA was close to Gaara's, that the enzymes from the blood made her better. Tsunade paused. She's never gotten sick and she's as energetic as they are. She said, realizing it now. Kami, I'm so blind at times. Happens as you get old, so I'm told. The fox said and smirked at her scowl. Now, back to your question, the girl is a pureblood Hyuga. Yes, she's of the main house. Tsunade said. Kyuubi shook his head. You're missing it. The Hyuga, like all the clans with Kekkei Genkais, got their abilities from breeding with demons, low-level demons, but they did it. Tsunade blinked at this. What? You think your ancestors could control trees? It's because his parents somewhere slept with a wood nymph or a dryad. Water users usually a water demon of some kind. For example, Gaara's children will control sand and sport a connection to raccoons. Naruto-san, I still refuse to use that stupid number as his name as well, his children will be able to use kitsune magic and illusions. So, the Hyuga Hinata. When we flush her system without demonic energy, it will jumpstart the hidden string and she will heal up like any of them. What demon did the Hyuga merge with? A mystical bird of some kind. Nibi keeps saying it's a phoenix, I think it's a dove. And Shukaku? Tsunade asked. They don't give a damn. The fox said, and Tsunade shook her head. So, you're going to make her like the authors and hope she mates with Naruto? Tsunade said. That's a long shot. That's life. And the brat needs someone. He's falling into the role of assassin and one of these days he's going to go out on a hit and then he won't come back. The girl has a pure soul, something about her caught his attention the moment he saw her. Other than the sex he's had with Temari, the only women he has even let near him has been you as a mother figure, Shizune as a sister and Yujito as a sister. Our time is ending, but we can make up for our sins with some good, then we agreed to do this. Tsunade shook her head. You're still not saying something. You 3 furballs are hiding something. Of course we are. We're old. We're slightly cosmic, nearly phenomenal beings. You have secrets, leave us with ours. No. Not if it messes with Naruto. Tsunade said, feeling very protective of the blonde she met those years ago with him threatening to shoot her after she sat down with him. Naruto will be fine. I look at him as if he was my youngling and in ways he is. Now, you go and call Sei about ocular implants. Naruto will be starting soon and she will want to see. Tsunade sighed. Damn pushy stuffed animal. She muttered, upset that she didn't get all the answers and knowing this would be the last time she got to speak with the fox. She paused and looked over her shoulder. You paid for your sins the day you helped him. She said. Kyuubi looked at her. I hope so. The Shinigami is a real bitch. Reception. Shizune looked at the client. I'm sorry, it's a bit hectic around here. Now, it says you wish to hire us as bodyguards, correct? The woman nodded. Why yes. She took a deep breath. I'm a radio DJ at 109.9 The Mix. Shizune's eyes widened. You're Anita from the Midnight Run. We love your show, I thought your voice sounded familiar. Anita Walker smiled a bit at this. So, what's happened that you need to hire bodyguards? I mean, wouldn't the station do that for you? Anita nodded. They would, but it's the studio that's having me stalked and terrorized as I was going to be moving my show on the road instead of staying in one place. The studio head is a vile man that has to control everything. His name is Victor Malloy. She started to sob. Shizune rounded the desk and handed the woman a tissue. She studied the DJ that they all listened to. She was pale, lack of daylight seemed to do that. She had waist-length honey blonde hair and her eyes were a sea shade of green. She was wearing a pair of jeans, a pale cream-colored sweater under a battered jean jacket. Shizune took her hand and rubbed her thumb over her knuckles, helping to get her to focus and calm down. Now, tell me everything. Shizune said once the woman calmed down and began her tale from the beginning. During her story neither noticed the power flicker several times and neither released the other's hand. Nine slumped as the last of the demonic energy passed through him and he went to one knee. He looked up, his eyes searching the room, but the three Biju were gone. Ara came and pulled him to his feet while Tsunade moved in and began to run her diagnostics on Hinata. Even now her wounds were healing. She's going to be strong. Gaara said lowly as he got Nine into a chair and handed him a bottle of water. Still blind? Nine said, his bangs hanging low over his face. Sei and Tsunade have plans. Gaara said. Nine watched the older blonde do her job and make notes on a clipboard nearby. He watched as Tsunade took blood and tissue samples. What ya doin' Bachan? He asked, his voice tired at the amount of raw energy he'd focused. Well, your furry little friend were sure of what was going on, I want to double check. Tsunade said half distracted as she ran another scan jutsu. Yujito peeked around the corner her eyes looking and she came over and hugged both boys. This them? She said, then her eyes looked at Hinata. New sibling, I'm a big sister. Nine shook his head at the former container to the Nibi you know Yugi-chan, there are times I swear you kept more of the Nibi and the Nibi kept more of you. Good. She said, her hand resting on Gaara and Nine's shoulders. Did you get a clue to what kind she is? Gaara asked. Nine nodded. It wasn't a bird like they thought. I got the sense of the wolf from her DNA and not one of the weak ones, I'm talking that somewhere down the line, her family mated with one of the great wolf spirits. Gaara looked at the girl on the table. More atrocities laid at the feet of the ninja nations. Nine nodded. The more we look, the more skeletons are found in the closets. Tsunade called and Tamari came and they moved her to the gurney and left the room. Tamari paused and grinned. You can see your girlfriend later Whiskers. She said and Nine sighed. Damn fox and his big mouth. Nine stood and weaved. Brother help me to my room, I'm going to sleep for a few days. Gaara nodded, both wondering what next. They as human sacrifices should know that you never ask what next. As the universe answers and it's never in the good. Chapter 10. 12 Tales. Shizune pulled on dark pants and a shirt while zipping up a battered leather jacket. She checked her hidden blades in the sig sauer before putting it in her shoulder holster. Tamari sat on the edge of the desk looking at her. Are you sure you don't want any help Ni-chan? If not me, one of the others. Shizune shook her head. I can do this. Tamari watched as Shizune pocketed her cell phone, keys and other items. Why are you being so stubborn? Tamari asked as Shizune picked up a scroll that she knew held the woman's favorite baby and missiles. This is something I can do. Shizune said. The file is on the desk, you can show it to Lady Tsunade. Tell her I'll be back later. You're not a field operative Shizune. Tamari said trying to get the older woman to wait for one of the others or accept her as backup. I have been on many missions before you were born. Shizune said. It was agreed that we would do the field work. You don't like us messing with your jobs. Shizune kept packing and Tamari checked the file, then whistled. Ah, I see. You're idle. Shut up. Shizune said. She hated it when the others picked on her about her taking over the radio to listen to the Midnight Run and its very popular DJ. Amanda Walker. Ni-chan's got a crush. Tamari mock sang. Shizune blushed. She grabbed a couple of the stick grenades that were no bigger than a pen that Gaara had made. I'll be back. She said walking from the office just as the back elevator sounded and Yujito walked out. Where's Ni-chan? Tamari held up the folder. She took a case. What? Yujito looked over Tamari's shoulder and scanned the file. Tamari jingled the keys to the bike. Want to make sure she doesn't get into trouble. Vegito grabbed her gear as Tamari grabbed her own, sliding the wall panel back into place. The pair slipped from the room, the file open on the desk. Radio studio. Shizune leaned against the wall while keeping an eye on Anita, who was preparing a list for tonight's show. So far the man, Victor Malloy, was nowhere around. Shizune had asked a few of the people, but they got really nervous, and Shizune saw several cameras and, using a couple of Sei's devices, found several more hidden from view. Shizune disabled the ones in the women's restroom and in Anita's booth. She also set a few of her own, as well as put another of Sei's devices on the computer. So, the others are on assignment? Anita asked as she worked on her playlist for the night. Finishing up from the last assignment actually. Shizune said, and in a way it was true. Helping Hinata was in a way connected. Anita nodded and continued working, before asking any requests. What? Anything special you want to hear? Anita asked, giving her a grin. Or a shout out to someone special? I don't have anyone. Shizune said, blushing lightly. How about Catch Me by Jasmine Tabatabi? Anita smiled. Sure thing. Like her songs as well. The DJ of the Midnight Run said. Shizune had always listened to the station since Anita first started. It was a blend of all kinds of music, and her voice was welcoming, and over time Shizune would imagine that Anita was talking to her. So, you do this a lot? Bodyguard work? The DJ asked. Sometimes. The others have a wider variety of skills. I'm trained as medic. That's cool. I'm a klutz, talking is my only skill. Anita said. That isn't true. You inspire people with your words, you give a lot of people hope and dreams. Shizune said. Anita looked at her. Sometimes it's best to let dreams go. She said, and Shizune saw a woman that had been broken, the woman who came to the office looking for help. Across the street. You get the listening devices in place? Tamari asked as Yujito sat next to her and ordered a lat. Yes. Easy as pie. The cat-like Jinchuriki said, running a hand through her blonde hair. And the spider camera? Tamari asked. That too. Yujito said, slipping the small handheld over. Tamari, when she asked for some gear from Sei, the lab geek handed her a PSP. It's just the case. It's been modified for you to control the spider. Tamari was always amazed at the stuff Sei created and always wondered where Nine and Tsunade had found her. She used the directional pad to move the spider. Anyone that looked would see a beautiful woman playing a video game. Vegito was listening to the mix she'd hidden and smiled. Our Nichan's got a crush. Tamari smirked. We've known that since the first time she pummeled Gara and Nine to take over the radio at night. The pair were keeping watch on their adopted sister. They knew she was capable, but no one went out on a job without backup except for Nine. But when he was out on a job, he had his comm link activated and they had his location on a computer in the office. Incoming. Yujito said, seeing a limo pulling up in front of the studio and four burly guys that would have made the front line of any NFL team step around. Lots of muscle for a radio owner. Tamari remarked. They're all packing shoulder harnesses. Yujito said lowly, and Tamari saw the bulge under the jackets. 4 suits, and here's the canary. Tamari said as the back door of the limo was opened by the driver, which gave 5 guards. A man in a pinstripe suit stepped out of the limo wearing a wide-brimmed hat and wore gold rings on each finger and a solid gold cane. What is this? When did they sell pimp clothes at the Baby Gap? Tamari said, seeing the man. He had matcha color skin, the short goatee and dreads. They watched as Victor Malloy entered his building. Get the spider in place. Yujito said. As that wrestling announcer that Nine and Gara watch says, business is about to pick up. Studio. Well, one time Lady Tsunade was on a mission with Nine, and Shizune's story was interrupted as the door opened and 4 men in suits entered, followed by one in a gray pinstripe suit. Anita, baby. The man said, and Shizune identified him as Victor Malloy. She stood and put herself between the DJ and the man. Back off. You were served a restraining order to keep back from Ms. Walker. Shizune said, her other hand was under the poncho holding the cig and ready to pull the trigger. Tranquilizer rounds. Thank you, Sei. She thought as she prepared for battle. Hello, beautiful. Malloy said, looking Shizune up and down as if she was a slab of meat and he was about to have lunch. Anita, I see you brought me an offering to make amends for calling the police on me. Anita was backing away, fear in her eyes. Shizune saw that the bodyguards had already pulled their guns. Give up, little girl, this is my building and no one goes against Vic Malloy. The cops won't come and no one in this building will help you. So give up whatever Anita here asked you to do and I'll treat you nice. Shizune felt her hand tighten around the cig and knew she could take out Malloy as he was right in front of her, but the guards had spread out and they would shred her. She kept herself between Anita and Malloy and his goons. Crap, what would the others do? She thought. All my heavy weaponry is in the scroll and the explosives would do too much damage as Anita owns her shodan. Shizune cursed, coming alone now and vowing to listen to Tamari next time. If there is a next time. She thought and prepared to make her decision. Chapter 11. Studio. Shizune remembered the smoke bombs she carried and smirked. Just need to grab Anita and flee. She thought, holstering the cig, and her hand slipped to the pouch. I can't believe I forgot about these. She thought, but stopped as the guards raised their guns. Nice and slow, beautiful. Malloy said with a sneer. Shizune had seen that same look many times over the years, and she was cursing at not having backup right now. I swear if I live through this, Tamari is never going to let me live this down. Shizune thought. Anita, be a dear and come over here, or I have my boys fill this pretty full of holes. Malloy's grin vanished at the cocking of a gun, and he froze as he felt the barrel of said gun against the back of his head, and he looked down to see a knife poking between his legs. Hey, Ni-chan. Shizune blinked at seeing Yujiro and Tamari in the doorway. You didn't really think we'd let you out alone, did you? Tamari asked as she pressed the barrel of the gun into the idiot's skull. Now scum, tell the boys to drop the hardware or you'll be able to whistle Dixie out the back of your head and put a basketball in the front. Tamari said. And I'll shave your manhood. Yujiro said, lifting the knife and causing Malloy to stand up on his tiptoes and his eyes widen. Drop 'em. He ordered his guards. They hesitated and Tamari pushed the gun against Malloy's skull harder. He squealed, do it. Guns hit the floor and Shizune looked at Anita. Come on, we'll set you up. Why show? Anita said. Trust me. She said and took the other woman's hand. As they passed, Shizune looked at Malloy. You've met my friends, trust me, they are the best at what they do. Shizune led Anita out of the room. Yujiro backed up, sheathing her knife. Tamari paused. I strongly suggest you stay away from Ms. Walker. Anita's mind, Malloy began. Tamari fired a shot into a console of equipment and it erupted in sparks. When Malloy and his guards turned, the women were gone. So what's with this Anita Amanda deal? Yujiro asked. Anita smiled. Amanda is my radio name. Shizune looked across the way as they used the cafe as cover. The tinted windows made it a perfect place to look at the studio from. Thanks. She said when Tamari sat down. Are you sure he wouldn't come here? Anita laughed. Victor wouldn't come in here if he was dying of thirst. It's beneath him. Which might be in our favor. Tamari said. Shizune looked at her. What do you mean? Your friend here still has a show to do, and what better way than to do it from somewhere else, more public or private? Shizune blinked. But I need the equipment, and Anita began. Tamari laughed. Our friend Sei could give you a studio, we pirate the signal and bang, one-hit show, and you could raid our CD collection Hell Raid 9 and Garas. Shizune bit her lip and thought. Sei's busy on that project. Yujiro made a laughing cough. You think Sei can't do more than one thing? We could set it up at 12 Tails if you want to be 100% safe. Tamari looked at Shizune. Gara and 9 would be there, as would Bachan. I didn't want to involve them. They're busy enough with. Their safety is the priority. Tamari said. Ms. Walker, Shizune has tried it your way by letting you dictate how things went. But with Victor Malloy showing no fear of the courts and his armed guards, you'll need to do things our way. Anita looked at Shizune, who nodded her head. They are the best at what they do. She confirmed. Alright. But are you sure your friend can pirate the station on time? Tamari and Yujiro laughed while Shizune just hoped they didn't get fined after tonight for what she knew the lab tech could do. Rooftop, 12 Tails. Sei smirked as she set up the last council. Easy as pie. She said as she dusted her hands off. Shizune will stay up here with you while Tamari, Gara and Yujiro patrol the lower floors. Sei said. Where are Lady Tsunade and 9? Shizune asked. Lower level. Sei said and looked at her watch. Where I need to be, the computer should be done making the adjustments. She gave Anita a friendly smile. Good luck. Anita watched her go. She's friendly. Shizune nodded. You have everything. The systems are in the green. I have over 1,000 songs thanks to you and your friends, and I have something to eat and drink. She gestured to the pizza and the cooler with water and soda. You're lucky to get the pizza, had to nearly shoot Gara and 9 for it. Shizune said with a chuckle. In truth, she had been lucky that 9 had only taken a box with him as he went to his vigil overlooking Hinata. Gara had been rather loud at having to share with Yujiro as Shizune grabbed a box. Taking up a position, Shizune noticed how the area was a covered section of the roof and she wondered what the 3 Jinchuriki did up here. Lower level. Give it a break, brat. Tsunade said as 9 looked at the unconscious Hinata. Sei's got the implants nearly ready. Tsunade said. 9 ignored her. What's twitching your mind, brat? Tsunade asked. I don't know. 9 said. Kyuubi and the others ended their existence to give her another chance. I guess I'm trying to understand is all. Tsunade put a hand on his shoulder, the pair of blondes watching over the sleeping girl. Stretch limo. Victor Malloy sneered as he looked at the men around him. So, the stuck-up radio bitch thinks she can hide with a bunch of losers. Boys, I want you to take the building down piece by piece and bring me that bitch's ass. I don't care if you have fun with those girls from earlier. Several of the men sneered and muttered what they were going to do. The limo pulled up across the street from 12 Tails and Malloy smirked. Have at 'em boyos. The limo and the armored van behind it opened up and nearly 30 thugs rushed out. Malloy stood up in the limo and out the sunroof. He lifted a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher. Knock, knock bitches. The rocket fired and impacted with the building, taking out a section of the second floor. Malloy laughed as his thugs rushed the building, ignoring the wreckage as it rained down. Inside 12 Tails. Gara looked at what had once been his sister's room and shook his head as he heard her growl. The first thug through the door got ventilated by a shotgun blast. That was my room, you suckers. Gara shuddered as his sister took out the next 3 thugs as they tried to get over the bodies of their comrade. His hands pulled out several frag sticks he'd made earlier and he lobbed them out the window. His smile grew as he heard screams. Incoming. Yujito yelled from a higher level and 12 Tails took another rocket. Shizun's room. Gara thought as he pulled his grenade launcher and informed Tamari to take cover as he rained death into the entrance. Tamari took cover behind Shizun's desk and reloaded her shotgun. Hey, Gara. She yelled with a grin. Yes. He paused firing grenades and looked at his sister. You think they're getting paid enough for this? Gara shook his head and wondered if letting her date Naruto for several months had been a good idea. His sister seemed to have developed a very odd sense of humor. Yujito was near the roof access. Shizun had opened the door. What's happening? Her friend came to play and he brought treats. Yujito purred as she flipped her knives. Tamari and Gara have them bottlenecked at the entrance, but there is the idiot with the rocket launcher. He hits a support strut and we'll have to vacate. Shizun hated being protected, but they knew their job and right now she was the last line after Yujito. The former holder of the two-tailed cat hurried past her and onto the roof. Where are you going? For a walk. Yujito said, pulling her goggles that Nine had given her over her eyes and leapt from the roof. Oh my god. Anita said, and with Shizun rushed to the edge and looked over to see Yujito in the middle of the street, dead bodies of Malloy's goons at her feet, her blades already in motion as she ducked and weaved avoiding gunfire. She's going for the limo. Shizun said as she watched Malloy pound on the roof and the limo sped off. Shizun watched as Yujito worked on killing the rest of the goons while she heard a couple more explosions. She looked at her watch. You better get to the controls. You have a show to do. Anita blinked and rushed to her task. She hit the switches Sei had marked and in what order to take over the signal. She hit her opening montage. Hello to all my night owls. Welcome to another edition of the Midnight Run. I am Amanda and you won't believe where I'm broadcasting from. Shizun sat on the ledge watching the woman work. Malloy won't give up and with his money, he'll buy better muscle for the next round. She sighed. I'll need to talk with Nine. Looks like his services will be needed after all. Shizun allowed herself to relax and watched Anita Amanda take calls and begin playing songs. In the lower level a blue-haired girl woke and screamed at the blackness. Chapter 12. 12 Tails, lower level. Nine reached out and put a hand on Hinata's shoulder. You're safe now. Orochimaru is dead. It stopped her screaming at least, but her face showed fear. My eyes. Her voice came out as a harsh rasp. Nine swallowed and wished Tsunade and Sei would hurry the hell up. They were removed before we rescued you. Hey Konoha. Am I in Konoha? She asked and Nine felt her tremor. No. As I said, you are safe. He felt her shoulders relax and he knew that her life in Konoha had been as bad as his before his time in jail. He remembered her. She was a shy stuttering girl when he went in, he never did learn what had happened to her all those years ago, but when the job came in, he took it. He wanted to see the shy girl from his youth, instead he found a broken young woman. It was another reason for him to hate the village, where they would allow the abuse of a once gentle young woman. You are beyond the mists. We rescued you when we were hired by Konoha to execute Orochimaru. She was quiet for a bit, then why was I not returned to Konoha? Nine sighed. Yerklin paid for us to kill you and return your body. She tensed again. But we declined. We felt it best to return you with us and Bachan spent hours working on you. Whatever the serpent did, he botched it up big time and it took a lot out of Gramatsune to fix you up. Anata brought a hand up to the bandages covering her eyes. So I'm blind. You would have been nicer to kill me. Nah. And my bud Sei will have a pair bionic eyes for you soon. She's a wizard at making anything. Heck, last year she made a techno-organic heart for a client. He could tell Hinata was frightened. He sat on the edge of her bed. My name is Nine. He said. Hinata Hyuga. She said her last name hesitantly. I give you my word Hinata Hyuga that you will come to no harm here. Bachan and Sei will be here soon and give you eyes, they will be different but you will see again. She was very quiet and Nine really thought about heading to Konoha and doing a bit of ventilation on several Hyuga elders with his sniper rifle. Upper levels. Tamari looked at the remains of her room and growled. He's getting a shotgun enema. Loloy's rockets had taken out her room along with Shizune's. Yujito's room suffered some fire damage but was mostly intact. Tamari looked at her possessions. When is Nine going to take this fucker out? When Shizune asks. She's on the roof with a DJ, the show's got another hour. Gaara said. He looked on and shook his head before backing out of the room. He liked explosions, but his sister was a time bomb he wanted nothing to do with. Yujito sat on the front steps, her numerous blades put away. She watched as the cops came and collected the bodies, and Tsunade had been forced to file and sign several reports. The former holder of the two-tailed cat missed her demon, she had the power, but over the years they made a connection. The goggles Nine had gotten for her hung around her neck. Hey. She turned to see Sei and Tsunade coming from the lab. Man, I swear you guys piss off the weirdest people. Sei said taking note of the damage. I'll have my repair bots over in a bit. They'll convert the rubble to new material. Sei said as she made a note on a datapad. Tsunade was carrying a case. Those the eyes? Yujito asked, and she was curious. Yes. Tsunade said. After the attack and the crap with the police she'd gone to pick Sei up. It was a block away, but better safe than sorry. You want me to add the automated defenses yet? Sei asked. No. Our luck they would target a kid bouncing a ball off the building and turn him to mulch. Tsunade appreciated the tech, she really did, but the armaments that Sei wanted to add to the building was something seen on battleships or Fort Knox. Let's see the patient. Sei said and entered the building. Tsunade looked at Yujito. You okay? Yes, Bachan. Just thinking. Tsunade looked at her a moment then entered. Yujito sighed. It was a talk she knew was coming, but was happy to wait for. Nine sat on the couch, ignoring the stench of smoke on it from the fire. Damn Gaara and his explosives. The whisker-marked blonde thought. He'd been kicked out of the med center, Hinata was going to be put back under for the procedure and would be asleep until tomorrow to give the nanoprobes a chance to do their work. See Shizune. Tsunade had ordered before slamming the door in his face. She's got a job for you. He went to find Shizune, but saw she was with her client and he came back to the office and was stretched out on the couch. He opened his eyes to see Yujito upside down looking at him. What? When are you going to chose? Nine sighed. Do we have to do this now? Yes. Yujito said. Tamari, me or the girl? Nine smirked. You didn't add Sei. He said. Yujito hissed. You horny fox. Nine sighed. Why do I have to chose? Yujito remained quiet for several minutes, just making eye contact with him. There you are. Both Jinchuriki looked to see Shizune coming down the stairs. Where's your friend? Nine asked. Finishing her show. Nine, I need you for a job. The blonde sat up, avoiding banging heads with Yujito. You want me to kill the idiot that attacked us? Yes. Shizune said. Anita's paid for the protection, but Shizune began, but Nine held up a hand. I'll do it. Shizune blinked. He blew up our home. Nine said gesturing to the damage. Although Gaara and Tamari did a number as well. He gestured to the door which was leaning in the frame. Nine stood, get the details, I'll be ready in 10. He went to his room which was on the far side and well away from all of the damage. Yujito went to her room as well. Shizune wondered what she had just interrupted. Loloi Mansion. Nine dressed in black, his hair covered by a bandana, looked at the walls and the guards. His left Yujito was dressed similar, her various bladed weapons hidden on her body. Should have brought Gaara. Nine muttered. Yujito made a growling sound. Hush. Nothing against you, but this guy's got security walls and laser-targeted turrets. I bet he's got state-of-the-art sensors and computers. So it won't be a simple shoot and walk? Yujito asked. No. Nine said slipping his sniper rifle into its case and passing it to her. Stow it on the bike. She watched as he dropped from the tree he'd been using and loosened his long coat. He not only had his handguns, but she smirked at seeing the curved knives she'd given him, the ones with the spike-covered guards. How are we doing this then? She asked loosening her sword across her back. Nine knelt and she knelt next to him as he drew in the dirt. We slip over the wall here. We kill as many guards as quietly as we can. Once we're made well you'll use guns. Malloy is the target, either you get him or I will. She pulled out her knives and grinned. Want to play our favorite game? She purred. Who's the better killer? Yujito invaded his personal space, he had an inch on her and she got really close. Winner gets to pick what they want. The blonde eyebrow raised at that. And what is it you want, kitten? Yujito smiled as she pulled her goggles up and licked his chin. Wait and see, Foxy, wait and see. The pair managed to make it over the wall and to the back door, 6 dead guards each, and they shook their heads. Bad guys just don't try anymore. Yujito pouted. Nine shook his head. The former Jinchuriki of the two-tailed cat demon loved blades, and it was with this purpose in mind that Nine let her be the first in the door. The pair stopped however seeing two figures step from the shadows. Ninja. Naruto thought as he saw the headbands. He growled. A little far from home, boys. He said, both were Iwanin with slashed headbands. The amount of money on your head makes the journey worth it. The one on the left said. But the son of the yellow flash makes it doubly so. The second said. Poor intel. Nine said and drew his guns. 2. I want the one on the left. He smells of fear. Yujito said. Have at it. All hell broke loose, and in the upstairs panic room, Victor Malloy looked at the monitors in fear. Chapter 13. Malloy Mansion. Oh, look, two fish far from home. Yujito hissed, her blades lazily moving before her as she crouched. Nine shook his head, his Colts in his hands. Funny, all I see is a pair of cheap corpses. The two ninja didn't get to move as one was riddled with bullets, as Nine's Colts dropped him after sending him flying back several feet. The other one started speeding his hand signs for a jutsu, but found his hands pinned together by a knife. He would have screamed for sure, but a second blade was buried to the hilt through the bottom of his jaw up to his brain, killing him instantly. Rio, you think we should have given them a chance? Yujito asked, looking at Nine as he scanned the hall. They're ninja. He said as if that answered everything. Yujito shrugged. She had to agree with her fellow Jinchuriki after the way their lives had been. Neither had much love for anyone from the hidden elemental nations. Split up and find Malloy. Nine said. Right, we can do more damage that way. Yujito said and looked to find the blonde gone. I hate when he does that. She muttered with a low hiss before checking room by room, killing anyone she came across. On the second floor, the sound of Nine's Colts told her he was encountering resistance. Like Gaara's favorite show and those strange alien creatures. Resistance is futile. She thought as she slashed the neck open of a rather beefy-looking guard coming out of the toilet, and the look of surprise on his face as his throat was cut and he fell back into the bathroom. First you say it, then you do it. Yujito muttered as the smell came from the room and she cursed her enhanced sense of smell. Panic room. Victor Malloy watched a bank of monitors as the pair of blondes were cutting his men to shred, and the ninja had been totally useless, not even slowing them down at all. What the hell are they? He demanded as he watched the woman on the first floor take out his guards and staff, not sparing anyone. The other monitor showed the whisker-marked blonde shooting his second floor to shreds. He seemed to be inhuman as he avoided machine gun fire, as if he was from that Keanu Reeves sci-fi movie. What the hell did that bitch say? 12 Tails Agency. Are you sure they'll be alright? Anita asked as Sei was taking apart the radio equipment now that the show was over. 9. Yeah, he's the best at what he does. The tech said with a smile. And what is it he does exactly? Anita asked, looking at Shizune. Everything from bodyguard to babysitter and assassination. I believe Malloy won't see the sunrise. She said to the city-famous radio woman. I'll have Gaara bring the heavy stuff down later. Sei said, rising and heading for the door. She stopped. Oh, Lady Tsunade said to keep her out of the lower levels. The patient is showing signs of waking up quicker than we thought, and the implants look to be fine so far. Shizune blinked at this. I thought. She shook her head. Alright, thanks. She said and watched as the techno genius left. She's a nice girl. Anita said. Shizune nodded and looked at the woman who rose from the chair and came closer. Speaking of nice girls. The radio jockey said, and Shizune found her eyes on the other woman's hips that took on an almost hypnotic swish as she came closer. Shizune found the lump in her throat was bobbing in time with emotion. Her chocolate eyes looked up and saw Anita was smiling at her. She know. Oh Kami, she's going to. Whatever Shizune was thinking was cut off as Anita leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Time seemed to freeze as Shizune's world seemed to become full of colors and sounds that had nothing to do with what was happening. When Anita pulled back, Shizune could only come up with one word. Wow. Anita smiled. So, does that mean you'll go out with me tomorrow night? Tsunade looked at the girl who was twitching every so often. The surgery had been a success, and thus far there was no sign of rejection of the implants. She was aware that they still might not work once the girl awoke. Sei had been very specific that ocular implants were cutting edge, decades away from even being attempted. That girl is scary brilliant. One of these days Nine will have to tell me where he found her. The blonde thought. The door opened and Gaara stepped in. What is her condition? The redhead asked. So far so good. Tsunade said. She knew he was checking for Nine's benefit. We won't know if the implants will actually work for her until she's awakened. Gaara made a grunt sound. Sei made them, they will work. Tsunade had to admit, thus far the genius hadn't failed them, but this was a medical situation, more difficult than the heart she made and the bionic legs and arms she made for clients. This was concerning something in the head where millions of things could go wrong. I hope you're right. Tsunade said in a low voice. I'd hate to see Nine's reaction if this fails. Ara was silent, but she knew he agreed with her, or that's what she chose to believe. Malloy Mansion. Nine was sitting on the steps smoking one of those clover cigarettes when Yujito found him. Rio, no sign of the bastard. She said sitting next to her fellow blonde. Nine grunted. Top floors are clear as well. He said letting a puff of smoke out. The two shared a look. Basement. Yujito suggested. Basement? Nine said. They stood to get to the panic room taking their time now that the entire household was wiped out. So, did you see that new Tomb Raider movie? Yujito asked with a grin. No. Panic room? Victor Malloy was terrified. Two people. Two people had wiped out over 100 guards as well as staff, and the two ninja he'd hired hadn't even managed to put up a fight. Useless. He said as he saw the two now looking for the way down. They'll never find the elevator. Its Hitty blinked when they found it and managed to open it without a key. No. That's not possible. He grabbed a cell phone and swore as it showed he couldn't get a signal in the panic room. He threw it aside where it slammed into the wall and shattered. He never put in a landline, assured that no one would really attack him and he'd never need this room. He saw the monitors as the pair rode the elevator down. He went to the computer and saw that the rest of the systems were down, he had no help and no defenses. He looked at the walls and smirked. 4 feet of steel. They'll never get me. He said assured that nothing they had would cut through the steel barriers around him. He watched the cameras and saw the pair looking right at the camera. The male mouthed. Dead man walking. While the woman grinned and licked the edge of one of the knives she was twirling in her hand. No. Victor Malloy said shaking his head as they left the elevator and walked a narrow corridor, only now Malloy realized he should have put in the auto turrets and hired several guards for there. The pair walked the corridor as if they were ghosts. He also grated that he didn't have Mix hidden there so he could hear what was happening out there. You have to admit Angelina Jolie is smoking hot. Yujito purred. Nine shook his head. She is good looking, but. Yujito smirked. You mean you wouldn't want to kiss those pouty lips? Nine shook his head and missed the look on Yujito's lips. She spun around before him, her hands behind her back. So, would you like to kiss my pouty lips? She asked. Nine blinked. You're doing this now? Yujito purred at him. He blinked again. Please tell me you're not in heat. Yujito smiled. You didn't complain last time. Nine sighed. I thought you and Gaara. We do, sometimes when the urges hit, but you have been acting as a monk for too long and torturing yourself. Nine sighed. Let's kill this Malloy and then we'll talk. I want more than talking. Remember, you have several women interested in you. And if I smell things right, you are also interested in the Hyuga we rescued. Nine didn't say anything as he continued to walk, forcing Yujito to walk backwards. You have to choose. She told him. Me, say, Tamari or the Hyuga. He growled and stepped around her, his eyes landed on the door. Poor Victor Malloy was going to be on the receiving end of Nine's aggravation and frustrations. Victor Malloy smirked as the pair were on the other side of the seamless wall. Ha 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 ha. There is no way you're getting in here. He said. His glee turned to shock as the blonde male stepped back and made his hand like a claw. Soon a blue orb formed in it. What the hell? The blonde slammed the orb into the steel and Malloy watched as it began to twist. He looked from the monitor to the wall and saw the steel was buckling quickly. A moment later it exploded and 2 figures entered. Where the hell did you learn that? The female demanded and Malloy was wondering the same thing. Iro-san last time he stopped by to bother Bachan. The male said. I thought you weren't learning any ninja techniques after the shit they pulled. The female said. Malloy was sweating. The bitch hired ninja who use guns. Maybe I can bribe them. Malloy thought with a hit of desperation. He was opening his mouth to offer his first bribe when his brains exploded out the back of his head and his body back flipped over the desk as it was hit by a bullet from the modified Colt and a wicked-looking knife at the same time. Nine looked at Yujito, not once had he looked at the target he had shot. Iro-san said it was something my father created. He's teaching me another one. Kakayubi suggested I learn them to keep me alive. Like that cage bunshin, right? Yujito asked. Nine didn't have many jutsus, but the ones he did have he was a master of. Yeah. And your aim was off. Yujito made a hissing sound and walked over to the body of Victor Malloy. She rolled it over and pulled the throwing knife from the man's heart. I didn't miss. I hit the heart. You should have planted it in his head next to my bullet. Nine walked over and opened the desk. Yujito gave a low whistle. Looks like Shizun's wet dream just became a millionaire. Nine shook his head. Images I really don't need in my crowded perverted mind. You said it. Yujito said. Nine found jewels and took those. At his partner's look he sighed. What, it's a bonus. He's not gonna need it where he's gone. Yujito pushed the body aside and started raiding the computer files. Transfer ownership of the radio station to Bachan. 9 said as Yujito worked. Get everything else for Sei to look over. Yujito nodded. I know my job. 9 bagged the cash and pulled out his cell phone. He hit a preset number. Job's done. She's safe, he listened, then blinked to whomever he was speaking to. Right. He closed it with a snap. You owe me and Gara $50. Shizune's got a date tonight. Yujito blinked. Damn. I thought it would have taken a week. Chapter 14. 12 Tails Agency. The jingle of the bell sounded as someone entered the front door. Tsunade Senju was asleep on the couch off to the side, while a young woman with blue hair and a pair of sunglasses sat at the desk. Hello. The young man said as he stopped before the desk. This is 12 Tails Agency, correct? The dimness of the room didn't require sunglasses, but the young woman kept them on. Yes. How may we help you? She said, her voice was low, sultry. She had aristocratic features, and her hair was well past the small of her back that he could see it was a deep majestic blue that bordered on near black. I need to speak with someone who deals with. I will conduct the interview and determine who you need, sir. She said. The man narrowed his eyes. I'd prefer to speak with Hinata. Tsunade said from the couch. Yes, Lady Tsunade. The now identified Hinata inquired. If he refuses to speak with you, you have permission to throw him out. Tsunade said with a growl. Her forearm was covering her own eyes. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Hinata said. Her sunglass-covered eyes turned towards the man. Will you speak with me, or will you be thrown out for wasting time? I just want to speak with one of your experts before I make a decision. The man protested. Hinata stood with the grace of a jungle cat and the man found himself by the curb, his body numb before he could blink. Back inside, Hinata was sitting at the desk once more, her hands busy with sorting various files. That was very well done, Hinata. Tsunade said. How are your eyes? They itch still, and everything is in black and white. Hinata said. Well, don't use any chakra with them for the week. I don't want to mess up the connections too soon. Hinata nodded. She'd been awake for 2 days and had inserted herself into the day-to-day workings of the agency, as if she'd always been there. Tsunade sat up and gave a yawn, and as she stretched. Have the others called in yet? Not yet, Lady Tsunade. Hinata said, bowing her head down slightly. Sei still setting up her new lab? Tsunade asked. Yes. Hinata liked the tech girl. She'd been the first one other than Tsunade that she saw once she woke up. Hinata still blushed around Gara and 9. Hinata had recognized him the moment she saw him in black and white, but he told her in an even voice that he was 9 now. Naruto Uzumaki died in prison. Hinata did not like how Yujito and Tamari acted towards the whisker-marked hitman, but Hinata knew it had been some time since the academy and she would take the time to get to know him as he was now, but she would still see flashes of Naruto in the man he was now. Shizune back from her date? Tsunade asked. She's upstairs. Hinata said with a blush as she'd seen the kiss Shizune had gotten from their former client Anita Amanda Walker, who had the radio show The Midnight Run that played here nightly. 9 called the woman Double A and teased Shizune with the air of a younger brother picking on an older sibling. You can finish that up later. Let's go for a walk. Tsunade said. Hinata was still nervous in this new place, but Sei's language chip made understanding and speaking languages easier. Hinata however flinched and Tsunade knew the girl must have been abused by her clan for her to be so timid at times. Of course 9, Gara and Yujito have been working on that as well. I pity any Hyuga we meet in the future. The blonde thought. While she didn't really pity them, she knew that the 3 had an instant liking to Hinata and Tsunade knew that any harsh words or raised hands would be met by bombs, blades and bullets. So, how are you really feeling? She asked Hinata. And as your doctor I expect the truth. Don't give me 9's answer of fine. Hinata smiled a bit. She remembered 9 coming back the other day from an assignment looking like he'd been blown up and told Tsunade he was fine, but it took several hours of his healing factor to clear him fully. I still feel heavy. Hinata said. The bonding Orochimaru did to your bones. Your own healing factor is nearly as good as 9's, but I don't want you to push yourself yet. The blades that had popped out her fingertips had scared her badly, but they retracted and her fingers looked unmarked. 9 said she was a Hyuga with teeth and said he'd spar with her later once Tsunade cleared her for more than desk duty. Do you really think that I will be able to join the others? Hinata asked. Tsunade gave her a smirk. Only if you really want to. I won't lie to you. We kill people. We do pick our jobs carefully, but what we do in the big game isn't nice. Tsunade said. Why will we take missions in the elemental nations? Hinata asked. Tsunade shrugged. Sometimes. Don't feel bad. None of us like the place anymore. 9 and the others and you as well have a huge reason to hate the place. My own losses have jaded my opinion and Shizune, well, she cares for us too much to leave. Lady Tsunade want to help them. Hinata had a slight blush and Tsunade could have been blind and saw it. She smiled. You'll need training. You'll need to know how to use firearms as well as what weapons work well with you. Tsunade frowned as she thought of her own misadventures. Yujito prefers to use blades, but she has a pair of silencers strapped to her back. 9 Well, his favorite are a pair of Colts he modified, as well as his sniper rifle. Tsunade remembered the damage the blonde could do with that, as well as the caster shells he made and shared with no one. And Gaara? Hinata asked as they walked. Gaara likes explosions. I think it's a holdover from when he held the one-tailed Shukaku. But Gaara has several double-barrel Dillingers. Tsunade remembered when the boy opened his jacket the last time she counted at least 20 of the little guns. And Tamari-san? Tsunade smirked. She likes her shotguns. She also has her skills as a ninja and carries a pair of bladed fans with her. Hinata was thinking. And Shizune? Dear Lady, Tsunade laughed. Shizune loves the rocket launcher. She keeps it in a scroll as well as numerous rounds. She's got a few pistols as well, her own skills from our time as a ninja. Tsunade knew it was coming and answered. The others really don't trust me with a firearm, as 9 will tell you the best place to be when I have one is several yards behind me behind concrete. They passed a vendor and nodded but declined the hot dogs he was selling. They continued their walk. 2 would like to learn to be the team's field medic. Hinata admitted. I was learning to be one on my own before I was kidnapped. Tsunade smiled. Great. I think I can also suggest the proper weapons for someone like you. Hinata held up her hand. I have claws. Tsunade smiled. But you do. But let's give you something for distance as well. Medics aren't to be the front line of our operations. Hinata walked with Tsunade and thought about her time with 12 Tails and where it would take her. Tsunade saw a nun sitting on the steps of 12 Tails and frowned as she recognized her. Fuck. The slug Sanin said. Hey mama big tits. The nun said and Tsunade felt her fist clench. Elsewhere. Kaboom. 9 looked around the wall then across where Gaara was crouched with a huge grin on his face. You used too much. The redhead gave him a look. They're dead. But I wanted to kill the one that insulted 9 began, but Yujito put herself between them in the hall. Rio. Behave boys. I'm sure some of the worms are still breathing. Yujito said as she pulled her curved knives. She licked her lips. Not if I can help it. Gaara growled, opening the tubes on his back and unleashing his sand. It swirled around his feet then surrounded him like a pet snake. 9 scowled and loaded several rounds into his sniper rifle. I hate gangs. They decrease the value of the neighborhood and make it difficult for good folk to live quietly. The pair watched as the blonde took up a position and sighed. You can't see them through all that smoke. Yujito said. 9 remained quiet as he made adjustments, then bit his finger and rubbed it on a seal. Aw crap. Yujito hissed and Naruto fired. The blast that came from the end of the barrel wasn't one you would see normally. It was an inferno and it got bigger the further it traveled. Screams from the other end of the corridor told them that the shots had hit. 9 fired twice more, both blasts of fire got results. Yujito watched as 9 shouldered his rifle and drew his modified Colts. Ladies first. She smirked and practically skipped down the corridor into the warehouse the gang formerly known as the Thrillers had been. Yujito looked around. Between his bombs and your blasting, there's nothing here for me to kill. She pouted. Next time kitty. Gaara said as they systematically walked around and put a bullet into each corpse's head. Yujito counted the bodies. The eyes, we're too short. 9 lifted his Colt and without looking fired into a section of the wall. A moment later the panel fell open and 2 bodies staggered out and fell to the ground. Now we're not. He said. Yujito shook her head. I hate when you do that. 9 smirked. Call the client, tell them the neighborhood is theirs again. He walked away. Something is bothering him. Gaara said. Yujito nodded. She noticed a difference as soon as the Hyuga girl woke up. Her cell phone rang. 2 here. At your butts back to the office. Hello Bachan, enjoy your nap. Yujito said. No time for your shit. We've got a big job. We're going to Ronipur. Yujito froze. No. Yes. Not get your asses here. We have to plan. Tsunade ordered and hung up without further word. Shit. What is it? Gaara asked. We're going to Ronipur. Yujito said. Gaara grinned. 9 turned around at this and even he had a smile on his face. Yujito sighed. I hate that fucking town. And? What if Neglected Naruto trained Killer Konoha? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.